No, I should put my video on.
Good afternoon, Chair. Your meeting is now live.
Good afternoon. I am Councillor David Fuller, Chair of this Planning Committee, and I welcome everyone to this virtual Planning Committee this afternoon. We are meeting virtually in response to the limitations placed on the governance by the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is being broadcast to enable the press and the public to view this meeting. The officers will present the applications, read any written deputations received and confirm the recommendations for debate. To facilitate this meeting, I am exercising my discretion in accordance with the consultation and suspending standing orders 41A, and I'm allowing debate of items before motion is made to this committee. Members are reminded to keep their videos on and indicate if they need to leave the proceedings at any point. Members are requested to keep their microphones on mute and only turn these on when you are ready to speak. This will limit the amount of background noise coming from yourselves. Officers are requested to turn their cameras on only when they are presenting their reports or answering any questions. Members of the committee who wish to speak in this debate should use the chat facility and simply write RTS, and that means request to speak members. Please do not use the chat facility for anything else. Officers will also use the chat function to advise the chairman, myself, or the deputy chairman if they need to provide any advice to the committee. If there are any technical difficulties or a need to take a confidential advice, we will endeavour to resolve this as quickly as possible and have a brief adjournment. I will now explain the running order for this meeting. Members will declare any interest received, then receive an update on planning matters, agree the minutes on the previous meetings, and then determine each planning item. For each item, the planning officer will make a presentation of the application. Following their presentation, the officer will then read out any written deputations submitted in accordance with the amended standing orders for deputations. Members will then ask questions, they will make comments, and they determine the application. So I'd now like to invite members to introduce themselves. Can you please reply by stating your name and saying present, and whether you are attending this meeting here as a full-time committee member or are you standing as a standing deputy or for a full member. I will pause for a few seconds between each person. This gives you able you to confirm that you are present, and then it will be recorded as absent from the meeting, or if you are here, obviously it'll be recorded that you're here. So I now call upon my deputy chair, call upon Councillor Judith Smythe.
Judith Smythe, deputy of this committee, present.
Thank you very much. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please. Councillor Matthew Atkins, are you here?
If you come back to him at the end, I think he'll be with us by then, if that's okay, Councillor Fuller.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. I'll do that. So we'll wait on Councillor Atkins. I can now call upon Councillor Chris Atwell. Are you present?
Chris Atwell, present, Chair.
Thank you very much. I call upon Councillor Hugh Mason. Councillor Hugh Mason? Not at the moment. Okay. Call upon Councillor Donna Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Donna Jones, present.
Thank you very much. Call upon Councillor Terry Norton.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Terry Norton, and I'm a full-time member of the committee, present.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I now call upon Councillor Lynn Stagg, please.
Councillor Lindstad, full-time member of the committee, present.
Thank you, Councillor. Called upon now, Councillor Luke Stubbs, please. Are you present?
Yes, Luke Stubbs, present.
Thank you very much, Councillor, and welcome. I now call upon Councillor Claire Oudie. Councillor Claire Oudie.
Hi, yes, Councillor Claire Udy, full-time member of the Planning Committee.
Thank you very much, Councillor, and welcome. So we'll just go back to see if we've got any councillors that weren't there just before. Councillor Matthew Atkins, are you present at all? No?
Yes,
Okay.
Councillor Matthew Atkins, present, full-time member of the Planning Committee.
Thank you very much, Councillor Atkins, and welcome. And the last but no more least was Councillor Hugh Mason. Councillor Hugh Mason, are you present?
Chair, can I butt in, as I don't appear to be here?
Yeah, I think you were supposed to be. I think Councillor Hugh Mason, didn't he deputise for you last, or was
Yes,
it
he
somebody? He did, yes.
Yes,
So I think
please,
that's a spelling right thing. I think it should be Councillor Lee Hunt. Then it should be there. I think is that correct? Democratic Services.
You're completely correct, Chair.
Thank you very much. So
I am here, and I'm a full member of the committee.
Thank you
yes,
very
I am
much.
here and a full member of the committee. I'm thrilled to say. Let me just feel. Yeah, definitely here. Definitely here.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lee Hunt. Thank you very much. So I'm now going to ask the officers to confirm that they are present as follows. And I now call upon Izzy Alcaldo, Head of Development Management.
Good afternoon, Chair. I am present.
Thank you very much and welcome as always. Simon Turner, who's a Development Management Lead. Simon.
Hello, Simon Turner, present.
Thank you, Simon, and welcome. Adam Banting, who's the Development Management Team Leader.
Hello, Chair. Yes, Alan, I'm here.
Thank you very much, Alan. Alison Pinkney, who's the Planning Officer. Alison Pinkney.
Councillor, I believe she might have dropped off briefly, but I think by the time you come to the end of it, she'll probably be back in.
Okay, so she's with us at this meeting. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we now move on to Matthew Garrod. Is that the Planning Officer, Matthew?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I confirm I'm present.
Thank you very much. Summer Sharp, who is the Planning Officer. Summer.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm I'm present.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Peter Haywood, who's the Principal Highways Consultant, please.
Hello, Chair. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you very much. Kieran Levin, who's the Legal Advisor.
Hello, yes, Kieran Levin. I am present.
Thank you, Kieran, and welcome, as always. Jane De Niro, Local Democracy Officer.
Good afternoon, Chair. Yes, I'm present.
Thank you very much, Jane. It's lovely to see you as well. And as I say, I think everybody's here. That's lovely. So thank you to everybody.
Sorry, Chair. Alison has joined us.
Alison has joined us. Alison, do you want to just introduce yourself again, please? No, Alison, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Just about. A little bit faint, I'm afraid. I think you got your microphone off. Anyway, we'll move on and welcome anyway, Alison. I'm sure you'll sort that out. I know you're here. So the first item of the agenda is any apologies. So I'm now going to ask the Local Democracy Officer to confirm whether they've received any apologies for absence at all.
I haven't received any, Chair.
Thank you very much, Jane, for that. Declarations of interest. So that completes my attendance record. So I'm now going to move on to, as I said, declarations of any interest. So do any members here have any declarations that would like to make? Please state the type of interest and the nature of the interest, I would like to state that the application for the Forest Lodge and Locksway Road, Portsmouth Southsea, is the last one on the agenda. When it comes to that, I will hand over to my deputy chair, as I have got to declare personal and I believe prejudicial interest in that I run a residential care home. So at that point, I will be leaving the meeting and handing over to Councillor Smythe. Any other councillors got any declarations of interest at all? Okay, so I don't think there's anybody else, so we'll move on. Thank you very much, members. So now I move on to item agenda 3, to consider the minutes of the previous meeting. That was recommendation that the minutes of the approved as a correct record to be signed by the chair. Do I have a proposal for the recommendations and a seconder at all? Have we got a proposer at all?
I'm happy to do it, Chair. Councillor Terry Norton.
Thank you very much, Councillor Norton. Very much, thank you. So we've proposed it by Councillor Terry Norton. Have we got a seconder, please, that was at the meeting last time to second it?
I'm happy to second, Chairman. Luke Stubbs.
Thank you very much, Councillor. So Councillor Luke Stubbs has seconded that. Thank you very much. So the recommendation has been proposed and seconded. I will now take a vote by affirmation of the meeting as permitted within the regulations. If there is no dissent and the proposal is present, are there any objections to the recommendations? I understand that's agreed. Thank you very much then, members. So thank you. The minutes of the meeting have therefore been approved. So the next item is we'll now move on to the next item, which is updates of the planning applications. So, have you got updates for us members this afternoon at all?
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much. I'm presenting an update on previous applications and appeals with regards to the local planning authority. We've still have 6 number HMOs planning appeals inquiries pending. We're still awaiting confirmation of dates for that matter. Currently, we're on track with our engaged counsel and the internal principal planning consultant to provide specialist input. We intend to provide a robust defense for the council's position with respect to these 6 number HMOs that have an enforcement notice against them. With regards planning appeals, we've received 3 planning appeal decisions in the last month since the last planning committee. The most recent being an appeal that was dismissed for South Parade Apartments, that's 29B South Parade, and that's to do with the external alterations and extensions, including construction of an additional floor to create a penthouse apartment with provision for additional car parking space. This principally has to do with the heritage impact of these proposals, and so the inspectors have sided with the council's own position on this matter. So that's a good outcome for us. We also have a planning appeal dismissed for 127 St. Mary's Road in Portsmouth, and that's to do with the part conversion, part new build to form an additional 1-bed flat with revised cycle refuse stores and also parking. Again, that's an outcome that we welcome from the planning inspectorate. Well, we have a house order, being the last planning appeal decision we received on the 16th of October of this year, and that appeal was allowed. That was on 76 Grant Road in Portsmouth for a construction of a dormer to the rear roof slope and hip to gable extension. Offices and we reflect on that decision that was allowed and to draw some lessons from it in further decision making going forward. Thank you, Chair. That's the conclusion of my updates on previous plan applications and appeals.
Thank you very much. I was going to go over to members if you had any questions to the officer there, and I've got Luke Stubbs. Councillor Stubbs, you wanted to ask a question to the planning officer.
Yes, just one. I just want to get some idea of where we've got to in terms of the number of unprocessed planning applications. Has that number come down, or is it still roughly where it was?
Would you like to answer that question, Izzy, please?
Yes, Councillor. Yes, Chair, I'll do that. Currently, what we have is a live backlog, so to say. But as we are dispatching and validating and processing applications, we do have applications coming in. What we have at the current stage, we have 193 minor applications which we have sourced to TerraQuest for them to process. That needs some time for them to go through the validation process and the evaluation, which is what they will do with the 193 applications that we sent out to them. We are also conscious that we have 42 days public consultation that needs to take place with this. But we are confident that starting just before Christmas, we will start getting the first tranche of applications being dealt with. There may be a smaller numbers coming through, but we are confident that as we start getting them and getting them signed off by officers internally, their numbers will come down. So we expect to see a remarkable or significant changes to the backlog in the early part of the new year. We've got new interim staff in play in the council. We've also got permanent staff we've recruited, and these officers are going to be with us for the near future. So we expect these applications to be greatly reduced.
Okay, I know Councillor Donna Jones asked at the last meeting, she had some concerns about certain applications coming to the committee. Was that addressed at all?
Yes, Chair. In my email inviting yourselves to the committee briefing, I did mention that Ian McGirr, who is the Chief Planner and the Assistant Director of Planning and Economic Growth, is looking into this and will be discussing with Councillor Hugh Mason, who is our portfolio holder, and Councillor Pitt, and also with yourself and possibly Councillor Smythe, to understand how we can address this. Because currently, we have to look at the scheme of delegation, and also we have to look at the deputation, which requires applications to be dealt with by the Planning Committee, and how we can sort that out.
Councillor Fuller, do you mind if I
yes,
at the last
course,
committee meeting, it was agreed that we would have a rep from each group to be sort of working through that with Councillor Hugh Mason. So I would appreciate one of the four of the Conservative councillors being invited to that, if that's okay.
Yes,
and also it appears we've got another application on the agenda today, bearing in mind what an incredibly heavy workload our planning officers have got at the moment, and the substantial backlog that we have across the city. 47 Drayton Lane. You know, I mean, we could be ploughing through. You know, today's agenda is not the most impressive in terms of clearing the backlog, is it?
Okay. No, I quite agree with what you're saying, Councillor. So, after this meeting, we need to get together and speak to Councillor Jones and get somebody to come along with us as well. And so it's cross-party, obviously, for everybody. And obviously, if Labour, if somebody else wants to come in for that, Councillor Judith Smythe, please send us an email and we'll try and sort that out. Councillor Terry North.
Yeah, just if I could, Chair, just to shadow that point, really, we've just been told that we've got 193 planning decisions waiting to be processed, and yet we've still got stuff today, which I think would have taken time to write a report for. It does concern me also that we raised this a month ago now, and a month later we've got no further. So I think, you know, where possible, some immediacy on that would be helpful to reduce the backlog.
Yeah. Thank you very much for Councillor. I did sit back on it for the month, but now I'm on to it. I will promise you I will do my best and hopefully resolve that issue. Councillor Judith Smythe, please. You wanted to ask a question.
I just wanted to add to some of that I've had a number of local residents coming up to me and complaining about the length of time that planning applications have taken and how they feel that it's an interminable wait. And of course, for some of them, they're losing income and losing opportunities to create new homes and so on and so forth. I do think I would hope to see a considerable improvement in the rate, and starting to improve the rate in January seems to me a bit slow, frankly. But I know people are working hard, but nevertheless,
Well, I promise all members that I will get back to every member, not just members here, what's going on. I think every member deserves an explanation and what we're doing to rectify it, if that's okay. Councillor Lee Hunt, please.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the officers because I'm very aware of what the members are saying, and I've been around a long time, but I think we have to remember, just to bring some balance to this little discussion before we get going, we've had the coronavirus pandemic and the emergency, and the officers had to go home and work from there. So it's a strange environment for them to do a lot of very technical work, and they can't see the whites of each other's eyes, as it were. And secondly, then we've had the nitrates issue that's needed to be sorted out, and that's soaked up, excuse the pun, soaked up an awful lot of their time, particularly Mr. Maguire. And then lately, the Aquind project, and I know that Mr. Maguire has been working very long hours with his colleagues, sometimes right through till midnight tonight. So, and the employment of Tara West to start to move some of the more minor applications forward is a positive step, and I'm pleased with Easy's report this morning that says by the new year, together with the staff that has been taken on, that we shall start to move these applications forward. It is regrettable. I know it's regrettable, but as I say, it's been the most unusual year altogether. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Councillor Fuller.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lee Hunt, and I would just like to say the same as you. I mean, know that I've been working very closely with these officers for planning. This is I might have been chair of this committee, and I must say these officers have kept me really well briefed with certain things. So I want to thank them and to thank them on behalf of all members as well. I know they're trying their best, but I just think we just need to tweak it up a little bit, and we'll get that sorted out, and I'll get back to all members by next Friday. Okay, so let's move on then, members, if we can. So I'm going to hand over to Planning Officer, who will now present the first application, and this is the South Sea flood defences. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to try and share the PowerPoint presentation with you now.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Alan.
Sorry about this.
Okay. Give you a couple more minutes.
If it's okay with you, Chair, maybe we can move to the next item and then come back to Alan, please.
Okay, are members happy for that if we go on to the next item? Okay then, so if everyone's okay, I'll go on to the next item. I haven't quite got my script in front of me. In fact, I think it is, what item is the 65 Goldsmith Avenue, is that correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, so I'll hand over to the next planning officer now then, who's going to present the application to 65 Goldsmith Avenue members. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. I'm just sharing my screen. Let me know if everyone can see the presentation.
Absolutely fantastic.
Lovely. To begin with, attention is drawn to the supplementary matters, which outline some additional officer thoughts on the design of the scheme and the impact of the removal of the front boundary wall on the character of the street. This application relates to 65 Goldsmith Avenue, a mid-terrace dwelling located on the southern side of Goldsmith Avenue. The property is set back from the pavement by a front forecourt and bounded by a brick boundary wall with hedging above. Planning permission is sought for the formation of a dropped curb to facilitate access and construction of a driveway with one car parking space. So this is the property that's there. The formation of a drop curb can often be done under permitted development. However, Goldsmith Avenue is a classified road, and as such, planning permission is required for the formation of an access. Goldsmith Avenue has a wide single carriageway with wide pedestrian footways on either side, and it provides access to a number of local access roads via the junction arrangements with frequent signal controlled crossing facilities for pedestrians, and the road also features a number of bus stops which are provided through lay-bys and on the street. Here you can see some views along Goldsmith Avenue. So here you can see looking east are the application site, and there's a junction just further down from it. And here you are looking west at the application site there. It's noted that there'll be opportunities even after the access is created for cars to park either side of it. The front forecourt of the property measures 6.5 metres in width and approximately 5 metres in depth, and the depth of the plot between the edge of the footway and the front of the bay window is considered sufficient to accommodate a car parking space without the car overhanging the public highway. The highways officer has assessed the proposal and raises no objection to the scheme, subject to a condition to retain a low boundary wall on either side of the access to preserve visibility. While the comments from highways are noted, the LPA has won a series of appeals along this section of Goldsmith Avenue. Refusals which were based on resulting highway danger and interference with the free flow of traffic caused by drop curves and crossovers. On this slide, you can see number 75 to 77 Goldsmith Avenue, which was subject to a dismissed appeal in 2017 for the formation of an access. The inspector dismissed the appeal solely on highway safety grounds, and the proposed access is located along the same stretch of Goldsmith Avenue as the application site and would have a similar access arrangement and therefore similar highway safety implications. And here you can see number 53 Goldsmith Avenue, which is a similar case of a dismissed appeal from 2016, which was once again dismissed solely on highway safety grounds and would once again have similar highway safety implications. To give you some context of the location of the two appeal sites and the application site, this slide shows you the location of the appeal at the two appeals and the application site. One second. It's considered, therefore, that the proposal would, based on these two similar appeal examples, would potentially cause significant harm to the highway safety of road users, and therefore the officer recommendation is one of refusal. I have one deputation from the applicant that I'll read out.
Yes, please.
So, we would like to thank the committee for taking the time to review this application. We would like to provide more background on our request and address the concerns received. Our primary consideration is safety. Goldsmith Avenue is a busy road where vehicles drive at excessive speed several times a day. We load and unload our 2-year-old daughter in the car, while traffic races past the open door, and we are aware of several cars being damaged while parked on the street. This is absolutely terrifying, and we would have so many near misses, that we decided to seek off-road parking. Parking on our section of Goldsmith Avenue is fairly unpredictable, so we cannot pick a safe side of the street. Additionally, we will soon need to access both sides of the car as we are expecting another child. Road safety experts have reviewed our application and have confirmed it as safe for all road users, including the most vulnerable highway users, i.e. cyclists and pedestrians. The highways engineer has requested that we create one parking space centrally on the plot to allow sufficient visibility of the highway, which we are obviously happy to comply with. The highways engineer confirmed that the 6.5 metre width of the plot is sufficient to provide adequate pedestrian visibility on either side of the access if a 2.5 metre wide parking space was created centrally on the plot. To allow for that, a low boundary walls should be retained on either side of the access. Subject to such an arrangement, I would not wish to raise a highways objection to this application. We noted the point that other similar applications have been rejected was raised, and therefore there was a precedent that our request should also be rejected. We would like to highlight that other applications were not deemed as safe by highways engineers, and that it was the reason behind the rejections. Owing to our proximity to Clovelly Road, westbound traffic on Goldsmith Avenue would have ample visibility of vehicle transitioning onto the highways, allowing sufficient distance to slow down. This is the main differentiator compared to other applications on this segment of road, making it safe. Additionally, our application improves the flow of traffic by taking cars off the public highway. There will be more space for wide lorries to transit along the road and allow buses to flow more freely rather than wait at the Shepherd's Crook junction until the entire section of road is free. This will be safer for vehicles and the more vulnerable road users. It is much more likely along this section of road that near misses stem from parallel parked cars opening doors into the path of a cyclist than cars slowly emerging from a hard standing, which can be seen from a much further distance away, allowing time to slow down. Another major reason why we wish to have off-road parking is that we would like to switch to a fully electric car with the motivation of cleaner air in Portsmouth for our young family and for the future generations of the city. Based on our usage, we would need to be able to charge the car on a daily basis, an option which is not available on Goldsmith Avenue. Unlike some houses near us, we do not have a garage where we could plug in our car. It has been raised that there is ample parking space in the area. While we contest this point, we appreciate the council is in the progress of implementing parking restrictions, which we believe would resolve the current parking issues faced in the MI zone. But more importantly, this is not our primary driver behind this application. Our main concern is the safety of loading our young daughter in and out of the car on a road that has HGVs and buses travelling down it. Finally, regarding the aesthetics of the house, this is our home and we intend to live here for many years and raise our family here. We want our house to maintain the Edwardian aesthetic, and we are willing to pay the extra cost to ensure that the front garden is well kept and compliant with the surrounding area. In conclusion, we feel that our proposal is fair for both our growing family and all road users. Most importantly, it has been deemed safe by the highways engineer for everyone. We want to improve the safety of our family, do our part to help reduce our impact on the environment and for the city of Portsmouth, and to alleviate the pressure from the public highway. We are willing to work collaboratively with the planners to ensure that concerns are addressed and would extend this to the committee. We are happy to answer any questions and take on board any feedback. Additionally, one sec, I'll just get up the email so I can read it. Councillor Vernon Jackson sent an email through to members this morning that I'll just read for the public record. He's written to the committee written to the members of the committee supporting the application. He notes that many houses here already have off-street car parking, and after 15 years, this road has now been declassified as an A road. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. We're now going to move to questions from members, which will be directed to the planning officer. So have we got any questions to the officers at all, members? No.
Just why this has come forward, Councillor Fuller? Because I mean, I know we've just discussed this before the meeting started, but is it here because it was objected to? But I mean, it just seems crazy that this is before us.
Matthew, do you want to answer Councillor Donna Jones' issue there?
Yes, I can do. This application is being heard at committee due to a request by Councillor Vernon Jackson, as he wishes to support the application.
Okay.
What, were you recommending refusal then before he called it to committee?
Yes.
Okay, I understand. Sorry. Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you, Councillor Fuller.
You're welcome, Councillor Donna Jones. Councillor Lee Hunt, it's a question to the officer, please.
Thank you, yeah. Just one on Councillor Donna Jones, and she's clearly satisfied now. Because say we shouldn't want to thwart the powers of members to bring things to this committee sometimes. We all have to do it sometimes. But anyway, you understand now, which is great. And that's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all very much. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillor Judith Smythe, please. Did you have a question to the officer, please?
As I said on my screen, I have a comment and wanted to make a proposal, but I'll wait until you've had all the questions, Chair.
Sorry, thank you very much. When I call comment, and then everybody can then come into it then. Okay, so any more questions from councillors? No? So we're going to move on to comment now. So Councillor Judith Smythe, you've got a comment at all, please.
I'd like to move that we follow the officer's recommendation of a refusal here. I'm worried about the precedent that will be created, and whilst one single pull-off might work, it's quite clear that there'll be a lot of applications to follow, and that road will lose its character, its vegetation, and will become progressively more dangerous. Whilst I know the road has been redesignated, it is actually quite a major route through the city, and I'd be worried about too many of the houses getting permission to have a pull-off there, and I would recommend that we refuse the application in line with the officer's recommendations, Chair.
Thank you very much. So we've got to agreeing really with the officers. Councillor Judith Smythe proposing that. Councillor Councillor Lynn Stagg, please. Did you have a comment, please, at all?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm really surprised that the transport officers actually said there wasn't a problem. I used to live just around the corner from here, and it is an extremely busy road. A lot of cyclists, a lot of pedestrians. Now, I'm just thinking, if you go into it by driving into it, head on kind of thing, you would then have to reverse out and onto that really busy road. It may have been declassified as an A road, but it is still a very busy road because it's one of the main east-west roads. And it's also, as Councillor Smythe has said, it's setting a precedent when already three other applications have been refused for the same reason. So, you can't have it okay for one house, safety-wise, and not okay for three previous ones. So I would also go with the officer's recommendations.
So, Councillor Lynn Stagg, are you seconding the proposal from Judith Smythe, or from the councillors? From the officers to refuse the application. Are you seconding that?
Yes, I do. I am. Yes.
Thank you very much. Just so that I've got that correctly. Okay then. So, comment at all, Councillor Donna Jones, please. Comment, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to propose the permission of the dropped curb.
You're going with it then. Okay. So that's interesting.
I am,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Councillor, Izzy, did you want to say something?
Yes.
Yes.
I did pick up from Councillor Smythe that with regards the officer's recommendation, I was thinking that she was suggesting an additional reason for refusal there, but maybe that I'm wrong. No, okay. Apologies then.
Okay, that's fine. Councillor Lee Hunt, comments, please.
Yeah, I think the trouble with this is the inconsistency across the city. We see some people being given permission on a busy road to take down their front wall, and being given access off the road via a drop curb, and sometimes some not. is difficult. Initially I was not for this when I read. I looked at the front garden, it's very pretty and all that sort of thing. There are some others along there too that have got off-road parking. It just seems unfair. I would like to retain it. I really would like to retain it. I think the garden is fabulous. I agree. It's quite a busy road. But, it's the inconsistency. Some people getting their cars off the road, across their gardens and removing trees and whatnot, and getting that benefit from the council, and then, from the local planning authority. Then the local planning authority turns around and says to somebody in very similar circumstances, no, you can't have this. And the setup's almost exactly the same from one particular matter that I'm thinking about. So I'm going to second Councillor Donna Jones's proposal.
Thank you very much. So that's to overturn the officer's recommendations for refusal. Is that correct, Councillor Lee Hunt?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't doubt Councillor Jones can tell you that she doesn't think that it would have create a danger to highways, road users, and all that sort of thing, contrary to what the officers are saying in their report. I'm sure that her view would be that it's a reversal of what the officers are saying in their report.
I had a Councillor Matthew Atkins who put his hand up. Councillor Atkins,
Chair,
could you use?
if I may,
could
before
you
we
use
go
the
on.
chat? Sorry.
The chat is not working for me, Councillor Fuller.
Oh, is it not? Sorry. Okay, I just have to make sure I keep an eye open for you. Sorry about that. Was that Kieran? Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Apologies for interrupting. Yes. I just wonder if Councillor Jones could recap her reasons for the proposal, because where we're moving against an officer recommendation, it doesn't obviously follow that the reasoning in the report is Councillor Jones's reasoning. I appreciate Councillor Hunt's just spoken to a degree for his own part on what his beliefs are on the matter. Could Councillor Jones just come back on that, please?
Yeah, I disagree with the reason for refusal recommendation 1, that there's not enough space to turn. We give planning permission for new houses across this city all the time, have done consistently for years, and the driveways are smaller than that of this proposed house. I appreciate it's a busy road, but you can drive up and down busier roads than this across the city, and they have parking spaces. And actually, this is a busy road, so why don't we help to take some cars off the road by encouraging people to have off-road parking? In fact, I remember a few years ago looking and speaking to the Transport Department about if there was any incentive that we could give to encourage people to ease on street parking pressure and tension and woes with people in this city who have a front garden big enough to be able to accommodate a car. If we could encourage them to put in these applications and pay for a dropped curb with some kind of incentive, like a £99 application fee to the council to get it sorted out through either planning and or the transport team. It didn't end up going ahead, but I think that we should be encouraging this wherever possible, and therefore I disagree with the refusal under recommendation 1.
Thank you very much, Councillor Donna Jones. I think that was very clear. Councillor Matthew Atkins, did you have a comment at all?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I also think that this application should be allowed and not refused. So I don't think it should be refused. With respect to the Highway Officer, I understand he's the expert, but there's so many parked cars along that particular piece of road that traffic has to move very slowly. And actually, to me, the level of parked cars along there are such an obstruction in any case that it would be better if the cars were off the road in drop curbs and parked in driveways than the way they currently park on that road. So I actually think it will be better and safer and improve traffic flow to allow dropped curbs along that road, and so I think we should in general, and so I will specifically support this application.
Thank you very much. Before I come to Judith Smythe, Councillor Judith Smythe, Peter Haywood, did you have a comment, or did you want to say something to the committee, please?
Sorry, members, there seems to be a misunderstanding. The Highway Officer recommendation is not for refusal. The Highway Officer view is this is a safe access arrangement. It seems to be a misunderstanding.
Okay. Sorry, before I come to you, Councillor Hunt, I did have Councillor Judith Smythe just before Councillor Hunt. Councillor Judith Smythe.
If members are minded to approve this, then it isn't a black and white thing. I hope we can put conditions on about that meet the offer made by the applicant to keep two little walls there, and presumably behind it to have some capacity to replant some greenery, some garden, maybe a tree. And if that could be done, I think we should consider, if the committee is minded to overturn the refusal recommendation, conditions on the front car and only one car to be used.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Hunt, sorry, was next.
Yeah, perhaps if I can help us and Councillor Jones, the proposal might be something like having regard to the views of the highways officer and relevant appeal decisions, is considered that this proposal would not cause significant harm to the highway safety of road users and is not contrary to the aim and objectives of Safe Policy DC 26 support of city local plan, etc. Is that helpful, Councillor Jones?
Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. That was very useful. Good collaborative working. I like it. Can I just come back on Councillor Judith Smythe's proposal, because that would effectively, if we agree it, would go into mine and Councillor Hunt's recommendation for conditional, well, for permission. I think it should just be a permission. Sorry, Councillor Smythe. I don't think we should overthink this, and I don't think it's our place really to be sort of saying whether people have greenery in their front gardens or not. There's nothing to stop them taking that greenery out now. I appreciate the point you're trying to make, and hopefully they're watching this meeting and will take that on board. But I think that we can really start to overcomplicate things here. This is a simple dropped curb. I understand now why it's at committee, because it was going to be refused. I don't quite get that at all, and I'm pleased the highway officer did not want it to be refused. Restores my faith in our excellent highways team. But this for me is a very straightforward black and white application, and it should have been passed under delegated authority. Don't know why it's here, and I don't think we need to overcomplicate it with any additional conditions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Luke Stubbs, did you have a comment at all, Councillor, before we go to the voting? Or before I go over to Kieran to explain what we're going to vote for, first of all? I think I've got it in my head, but I'll ask Kieran to clarify it before we go to the vote. So, Councillor Luke Stubbs, please.
Yes, just briefly, Chairman. I mean, I think I found myself largely in agreement with the points made by Councillor Smythe in terms of consistency. And potentially on the traffic safety issue, but I think consistency is the bigger one. Look, we are going through a process of the revision of the local plan. The existing local plan says that planning permission for new accesses will not in general be granted on classified roads. Now, if we're going to have that as a policy, then that's a policy. Now, if the administration or the officers want to put in a policy saying that doesn't apply to Goldsmith Avenue, and this is why it is, then it should be in a policy and it should apply to all of the applications. But we've had appeals, and all right, so we as the planning committee won't have dealt with those previous applications. They were dealt with on behalf of the local planning authority, and I think that it's incumbent on us to have a measure of consistency as a planning authority, not just as individuals, and the decisions that we take. So I shall be voting with the proposal for refusal.
Peter Hayward, sorry, you wanted to come in. Peter.
Sorry, Chair, to keep butting in to what is a comment section, but hopefully I can help. We do have, or did have, a saved policy, a presumption against the formation of new accesses to roads forming part of the strategic road network. Although back in 2014, there was a specific departure from that policy approved through committee for this section of Goldsmith Road, with the intention of encouraging people to bring forward accesses here if they wanted to. So the reason why there's inconsistency between the approach on Goldsmith Road, or perceived inconsistency between the approach on Goldsmith Avenue and elsewhere, is that we made a specific policy exemption for it to provide for those sorts of accesses. I'm not sure whether that's helpful or not. Furthermore, on the 3rd of June only last year, the strategic road network was reviewed, and Goldsmith Avenue, or this section of it, was taken out of that network at that time, and traffic rerouted. So to that degree, that policy to restrict accesses to this form of road wouldn't now apply in any event. Hopefully that's helpful in some way.
I'm going to come to Councillor Lee Hunt in a few seconds, but you asked, you wanted to say something to the committee.
Yes, Councillor. I am mindful of the comments from the local highway authority, but I'm also quite mindful, and I just want to draw members' attention to the inspector's decisions on both sides of this application site. And we do, in planning, do say we always give some weight, significant weight to inspectors' decisions, especially when they are quite close to an application site. Hence the reason why in any appeal, they would always ask if they have an appeal pending or recent decisions on nearby sites, which they need to take into cognizance. But again, members are within their rights to make a decision on this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lee Hunt, did you want to come in with a comment at all before we go to the vote?
Well, the proposition has been made very properly, and we've listened to all the evidence from the planning officers. And in this particular case, some of us at least don't agree. And Councillor Jones has put that proposition forward. I hope that I've been helpful in giving the reasons to overturn the recommendation based on what the expert says, a highways officer. And there again, Mr. Hayward's just come in and given us some more, sort of beefed it up for us. So I think this particular debate is over and done with, if you don't mind me saying. We've spent a little while on it now. And it's a straightforward matter as far as I can see that needs to go to a vote.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. I just had Councillor Lynn Stagg, and then I think we'll start voting on it if we can, members. Councillor Lynn Stagg, before we go to the vote.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I wasn't aware that that section of Goldsmith Avenue had been taken out of the requirement for permission or refusal for permission to have off-road parking there, and that completely changes my view, because I think Councillor Hunt is right when he says about consistency, and it just seemed very unfair to me that people had applied and had it turned down, but now there was somebody who was going to have it. So I think that changes my mind completely.
So you're not seconding the refusal to grant planning permission, is that correct? With Councillor Judith Smythe, you're pulling out of that.
Is that all right?
I've just got to check with legal to make sure we all know what we're voting for. So Councillor Stagg has come out of that one at the moment. So all I've got proposal for the moment for the refusal to grant permission is from Judith Smythe. I haven't had a seconder for that. Is that correct, Kieran?
Yes, Chair, I understand that. So that first motion, considering refusal in line with the officer's recommendation, is withdrawn. Before members do progress to a vote on the only remaining motion, which is to grant planning permission, I infer from what Councillor Jones was saying that she might be considering granting unconditional permission, which would be rather exceptional. I just wondered if Eze could perhaps give some comments on that, if there is a requirement for any conditions, or whether perhaps it should simply be a resolution to grant subject to officers compiling appropriate conditions.
Thank you for that, Kieran. Very well said. Councillor Hunt, I'd like to hear from Izzo for just first of all from the officer first of all, and then I'll gladly come back to you to finish off, sir. Thank you.
Chair, thank you very much. I would say there's no condition that's unconditional. The barest minimum would be to comply with the drawings and also have a time limit on them. Then, with regards, I do note that Councillor Judy Smythe had proposed or put forward in terms of boundary treatment, and that could also be a condition that members may want to consider or not. But I would probably say that any boundary treatment would probably, if it's not of about 1 meter height overall, will probably affect the visibility display of the vehicle as it egresses from the site.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lee Hunt, did you want to come in quickly?
I just need, actually, a bit presumptuous, sorry about that. So when these carpools go in, they are supposed to, as far as I am aware, to get planning permission, they need to have the water, rainwater runoff treatment measures put in place. So I understand, my understanding is that when they go in, the rainwater's got to be able to run off into the ground, so as to stop it entering in the in the sewerage system, the wastewater system, that sort of thing. So perhaps an officer can comment on that, because that's a condition that would need to go in if it's at this juncture, I would have thought.
Have we got an officer to just to answer that?
Yes, Councillor.
Councillor Hunt. And we've got Peter as well wanting. Should we go for Peter? Should we go for Peter first of all? Peter.
That's fine.
Thank you, Peter.
Hello, thank you. In my comments on this application, I proposed some conditions which I thought would be appropriate. One of those was to limit the width of the access. We had low walls on either side to preserve the visibility, and that's what's in the deputation that the applicant has said they're happy to go along with. So I don't see any issue with including a condition like that, if that's helpful. And we could also add in the one about the drainage, which is a standard condition would apply anyway.
Thank you for that, Peter. Did you want to just quickly come in onto that?
Yes, yeah, I have no problem. Like I said, if so far the boundary treatment that's going to be there is less than 1 meter high, that would not affect the visibility space, then that's fine. I mean, we can put that as a condition, but it just has to be less than 1 meter high overall.
Okay, I think Councillor Luke Stubbs, did you want to say something or not? Or
no, it's okay, Chair.
Sorry, thank you very much. So Councillor Donna Jones, sorry, coming to you now, hopefully lastly.
Thank you. In view of Eze's comments and also Peter's, can I go with Councillor Hunt's proposal that we, it might have been Kieran's, that we grant permission subject to, with delegated authority to the officers to come up with appropriate conditions. I think it would just be so much easier.
Yes, yeah, that sounds quite good. Yes, Councillor Hunt's putting his thumb up there as well. So I think we've talked enough on this one. So I just need to go over to Kieran to make sure everybody knows what we're voting on, so it's very clear. So I'm correct in saying that I've got a motion on the table, and that was proposed by Donna Jones and seconded by Councillor Lee Hunt there. So Kieran, could you just clarify what we're voting on first of all, so I've got it right?
Right. So on the understanding that the proposed development would not be dangerous or contrary to the relevant plan policies, the motion is to approve the development subject to delegated authority to officers to secure appropriate planning conditions.
Okay, so before we go, so Councillor Donna Jones, Councillor Lee Hunt, you've heard
No,
that.
that's not. No.
Right. Okay.
Subject to it not being dangerous. So Kieran's now bringing in another angle now. I think the committee have made, or certainly Councillor Hunt and I have made it clear that we've read the officer's report, we've taken on board the officer's comments, we want to grant permission. If you need to have a condition around wall height and soak away for drainage, fair enough, but that's now bringing in a whole nother issue. That's not what was said at all. So relevant conditions, but I have to say now you're concerning me with delegating that authority to officers, because Kieran's already trying to bring another angle in there, which is one that I've explicitly said I don't agree with under recommendation 1 of the reports.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, Councillor, to clarify,
hold on one second, Kieran. Thank you very much, Councillor Jones, for that. It may have been some confusion. We just need to make sure we got it right so that you're happy, and Councillor Lee Hunt. So over to you, Kieran. Can you ask us exactly what we're going to vote for in a second?
But I was just trying to recap the reasons I thought I'd understood from you, Councillor. I thought you'd come to the decision that this wasn't, you could grant permission because it's not dangerous. Is that controversial?
That's exactly what I think. That's exactly what I'm proposing. But you've just said in your wording of what we're actually voting on, that delegated authority to officers to bring in conditions satisfying the safety issues of this being a drop curb on a busy road.
I didn't put any kind of caveat on the sorts of conditions to be imposed. Simply
you mentioned safety conditions,
yes,
subject to it satisfy the safety conditions.
Grant.
Can we just have one at a time? Sorry. Sorry, can we just have one at a time? Councillor
Kieran.
Donna Jones.
Thank you, Chair. You said subject to it being satisfying the safety conditions.
Right, Kieran.
Thank you. I don't recall saying that. I'm sure others will correct me if I did.
Okay. Well, look.
Why would I have objected then?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. It seems to be a misunderstanding, is all.
Okay, Kieran. We'll come back to you. And say, Izzy. Sorry, did you want to chip in there? Say something. Can't hear you. You've still got your mic. Yes.
Sorry, Councillor. I think what Kieran is saying, if we're saying we want a condition, say for example, for the boundary treatment, and like I said, if it's below 1 meter, then that is okay. Unless we're saying we don't want any condition on boundary treatment, then that's not a problem. I think so. If it's suggesting that a condition that would at least ensure that there's no safety implications. Again, if we're putting any boundary treatment, it has to ensure that there's no safety issues.
Sorry. May I?
Yes, Councillor Hunt.
Sorry. If we go back about 20 minutes, Councillor Donna Jones and I agreed a form of words, which was, having regard to the views of the highways officers and relevant appeal decisions, it is considered that the proposal would not potentially cause significant harm to the highway safety of road users and is therefore not contrary to the aims, blah, 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 blah. So just a reversal of 5.14 is very straightforward as far as I can see.
Okay,
the
Kieran.
Water runoff and the boundary treatment, and that's it.
Okay, Kieran. Sorry.
So, notwithstanding the reasoning behind it, the proposal is to grant permission for the proposed development, subject to the delegation to officers to apply appropriate conditions.
Indeed.
Excellent. Can I get Councillor Jones to confirm that, and Councillor Hunt to also confirm again?
Yes, I was just about to do that. Councillor Donna Jones, are you happy with that?
I am. And Mr. Leonard, if you're watching, listening, or your agent or whoever, when those delegated authorities come through, they are not what you're expecting, please email either me or Councillor Gerald Vernon Jackson, your ward councillor.
Thank you very much, Donna Jones. Councillor Lee Hunt, just to go back to what Kieran said.
No,
you're happy with that?
We've all got it, I think. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we all know what we're doing. Everybody okay? Sorry, Councillor Jones, you look despairing there. Sorry about that, but we must get it right, obviously.
It's just an arrow for a drop curve. Do you know what I mean? We're a city.
Yeah,
we should be talking about big applications. This is an absolute farce.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I do apologise. So now every member happy with that. So now I'm going to go to the vote if everyone's happy with that. So I will now ask each member in turn if they are voting for or against the motion, or if they wish to abstain. Please only state for or against or abstain. Is that okay? Is it okay to pursue now, Kieran?
Yes, please do go to the vote, Chair.
Okay. So I call upon Councillor Judith Smythe. Please to indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
Against, Chair.
Against. Okay. Can I now call upon Councillor Matthew Atkins? Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
This is the motion to grant permission, yes.
Kieran?
I'm in favour, yes.
Yes, thank you. I call upon Councillor Chris Atwell. Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or you wish to abstain.
For, Chair.
Thank you. I call upon Councillor Lee Hunt. Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Donna Jones, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
Thank you, Chair. For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Terry Norton, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm going to abstain, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Norton. Councillor Linstag, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
Abstain.
Abstain. Councillor Luke Stubbs, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Claire Oudie, please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I wish to abstain.
Thank you. I'll cast my vote. I wish to vote for what's in front of me. Okay, so would the Jane or whoever's counting up, would they like to have a look at the scores on the doors, as they say?
Chair, you have 5 votes for, 4 abstentions and 1 against.
So it was carried then, is that correct? Just to Kieran, yes?
Yes.
That was
sorry.
yeah, that's okay. Kieran, that was carried, yes?
Motion is carried, correct.
Thank you very much. Thank you, members, and again, apologise for all that, but we'll swiftly move on. We go back now to the which was number 1, which is now number 2 on the agenda, and this is for the application for the South Sea flood defences.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We got there in the end.
Should be uploading. Forgive me, this is so frustrating. I've got 2 versions.
You've had all this time, Alan, to get this working.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
We're giving you plenty of time.
Would you like me to share my screen, Alan, if I can get your presentation loaded?
Yes, please. That would be marvellous.
I'll do that now. Has that loaded okay for everyone?
Yes, we can see that.
I get to see a fraction of it, but thankfully I know the presentation. So if we could go to the first slide for me, please. So the City Council scheme to upgrade existing coastal defences along a 4.5-kilometre frontage at Southsea was permitted in December 2019, subject to conditions. Before you today are details reserved by condition for part of sub-frontage 1 at Long Curtain Moat. Next slide. You've seen this one before. It's a reminder of why the permission was granted. It shows pictures of overtopping and breach events. It also shows in red part of the sea defence that is in a critical condition, and that bit of the defence is the bit that is being done first, and it is part of sub-frontage 1. I can't see it, but at the bottom of the image there, you can see a hole in the counterscarp wall that nature sort of blew in 2014. Next image, please. And this is an image I showed back in December of the first sub-frontage, but the bit that we're talking about is essentially the Caponier to Clarence Road car park. Next one, please. Now, these matters do not normally come before you, but the public realm details were requested to be considered by the committee in this particular case. So I'll take you through the conditions numbered there, 17, 22, 20, 25, and 27 in a moment. Before I do that, can I take you some key details on your update sheet? There is reference to the objection on page 5 of your report, which has since been withdrawn. Also in your update sheets is the Council's Landscape Architects update comments advising I won't read it all out, but we are pleased that the landscape designers and engineering team have accomplished a thorough consideration of the hard and soft landscaping for the first phase of the South Sea Coast Defence Scheme. The materials chosen are robust and should provide a resilient public realm in this challenging environment. This sets a good precedent for the future phases. So next slide, please. So this is trying to give you a flavour of some of the planting intended. There is actually limited scope for soft landscape in phase 1, and this will be done in a low concrete planter between the Clarence Road car park and the new raised promenade along its southern edge. There'll also be a hedgerow proposed to screen the car park adjacent to Spur Redoubt. These images show a selection mix of native and non-native plants reflecting the existing character of vegetated shingle locally. These images that I'm going to be showing you are obviously just a flavour of what is a very, very detailed submission. There is a report on these conditions running to 100 and odd sort of 30 pages with very, very sort of fine grain of detail, whether it's the planting or the intended maintenance or everything else. Next slide, please. This shows the proposed external lighting, a series of 12 columns along the upper promenade, each with 2 lanterns as they're sort of shown in the images there. It is a softwood that's being used, but within a sort of a range, it's at the sort of harder end of the softwood product and has been used in very successfully in other coastal locations. Next slide, please. The seat design forms a mix of timber benches and seating terraces constructed in situ, so bespoke to the site. And similarly, the railings will include timber handrails to maintain this sort of simple, consistent appearance. Next slide. Condition 25, the key promenade hard surface material was one that was outlined in the original application approved back in December of last year as an exposed aggregate concrete. In addition, the line of the counterscarp wall is going to be delineated by a quality Yorkstone finish. These materials have been considered by Historic England and designed to fulfill the fundamental requirements of longevity in such a harsh coastal environment. A bespoke mix of colour and size of shingle can also be adjusted in texture grain jointing to match and complement the scheduled monument. Final slide. Only the alterations to the existing car park are relevant to condition 27 for phase 1. The size of the car park is unchanged, but topography and layout is amended. The most significant change would be the relationship to the promenade, raised to match the car park and separated by the low planters that I referenced with regards to the soft landscaping condition 17. Finally, if I can add that the publicity for this application had to be extended until today to reflect the fact that the promenade was closed to the public, and I had to do some additional site notices and display them along the diversion route. So hence the recommendation in your update sheets reads, delegated authority is sought to the Assistant Director of Planning and Economic Growth to issue the decision provided no late representations raise new material issues if members resolve to approve the details reserved by conditions for the public realm 17, 22, 23, 25 and 27. Thank you, Chair and Summer.
Thank you very much, Alan and Summer. I think we got there in the end. So we're now going to move to questions from members, which will be directed to the planning officer. Councillor Lee Hunt, you have a question, please. Officers, Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Banting, for that. Very welcome to see. I'm just wondering what regard was given to a policy we had from way back when we did Mile End and the new planting there. I very much remember that the idea was that we would, again, use this one, sow that thing from Mile End down through the city so that there was, a consistency all the way down to the beach of the same sort of planting, give it that sort of seaside corporate feel, which you see along Mile End at the moment, which has looked absolutely glorious this summer and autumn, I think.
Alan?
Thank you. The intention is to have this mix of native plants that relates to the character of vegetated shingle at Southsea. So, to reflect that sort of local impact, local character, and some non-native plants that will increase the biodiversity. So this has been very, very sort of carefully put together, albeit actually it is quite a modest amount of planting, but a lot of care gone into its design.
I suppose the question within the question there, Mr. Banting, was what happened to that policy that we had, it must have been 10, 12 years ago, when Cathy Wadsworth was about, and we created this policy that we were going to spread this look from the Mile End, so when visitors came here, they would see the flora, the fauna along Mile End, and it would go down through whatever we do end up doing around the former Tricorn area. I imagine lots of little boats sort of there with all this sort of planting on, stuff like that. But to give the visitor that corporate seaside feel as they come in down, what happened to that particular aim?
I've no idea. Obviously, this has been done bespoke for this site rather than to attempt to replicate something appropriate to other locations.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you. I had Councillor Judith Smythe, please. Question to the officer, to Alan. Thank you.
I presume that we don't expect further applications on these particular issues subsequently. So this is it. And second of all, so is this it? And second of all, just to ask a question, the stakeholder engagement group has been discussing public art and opportunities to get local artists involved and other things. Are we expecting any further applications about this particular sector to encompass any of those things once they're agreed, or again, is this it for there and we're going for a slightly plainer finish, which would be perfectly understandable because of the historic nature of this bit of this section of the seafront? Thank you.
Alan.
Thank you. You wouldn't get any more details in relation to this particular phase. There is another condition on the grant of planning permission, condition 38, that when that forms part of the submission in later frontages will come before you, but there are no opportunities for feature walls or public art in this particular phase.
That's very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Luke Stubbs, you were next on my list for a question to the officer.
Yes, just coming out of that discussion about landscaping, I mean, I perhaps have something of the opposite concern. So this is a council application after all, and I do take the point that when in a private application you might try and nail it down a bit more, but I don't want us to get into the position whereby if for a perfectly valid reason in the future the administration wants to make some changes to the landscaping, maybe they want to put the stones and shingle in, maybe they want to take it out, whatever, that shouldn't be, we shouldn't make them have to go through planning permission to do that. So can you give some assurance that this isn't too prescriptive and that gives the necessary flexibility for how, because this is going to change over the years. Whatever is put in place immediately, 10 years later, it won't be exactly the same. So I don't want to tie it down with planning red tape. Can you give me any reassurance over that?
I hope I can, yes. Typically, landscape conditions are written to cover a 5-year establishment period, but it's still recognised within this submission that there will be sort of self-seeded plants growing in here, and it wouldn't be appropriate to, hoik them out. So it is going to evolve in the short term, but in the longer term, no, there would be no further control. It is a city council scheme. We're not going to be taking action against our colleagues for having some different plants in there.
Councillor Stubbs, did you want to go back on that?
No, not on the most of it. I mean, this is a sort of almost a comment. I mean, I think even 5 years is a bit too long when you might not be sure even what plants will live and what will die on what is a very challenging environment. So personally, I think some addition, if there could be further flexibility than that, I think there could be merit on it, but I do appreciate the response.
Okay, thank you very much. So I don't think there's any more questions. We're going to go on to comments. I'm looking for a proposer and a seconder. Councillor Lee Hunt got in there first. Councillor Lee Hunt, please. Comment, please.
I wish I could get in on the lottery that quick. I really do. It's 20 million I've quit up this month. But I'll do a lot of good with that, I can tell you. Anyway, what I want to say is this. I'm very glad that the committee has brought these finer details back. It may seem sometimes, not a waste of time, but, it's a bit of a trial sometimes. But to be actually able to see, and for the public to be able to see better what is coming, I think it must be a good thing. It's open, it's transparent, and we've all played our part in that. I mentioned the other policies. Alan Banty and I have probably been around on this lark for a good 20 years. I can't remember. I don't know if Alan was here before me or not. But we do make policies, and they kind of go up on a shelf sometimes. We forget about them. But that one about bringing the corporate seaside planting thing from Mile End all the way down through the city when the changes happen around the Tricorn is something worth remembering, because I do think we've done a very good job on Mile End Road compared to what was there before. There was those scraggy bushes and all the mess, and you look at it now, see the agapanthus and all these other grasses and so on, it looks tremendous, it does. And I think we'll get a flavour of that. I think that's what this particular presentation does today. It gives a flavour of that. There's a lot of concrete. We know there's a lot of concrete, and people will be disappointed with that. But there's also the attempt to do the planting and see these. And Councillor Stubbs is right. The seafront is ever evolving, and it will change. So some of the planting will change. Some plants are more successful than others. But I think it's jolly good to see, and I'd like to move the officer's report, if I may.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hunt. We've got Councillor Terry Norton, please. Councillor Norton, any comments, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, I shadow the comments of Councillor Hunt, which is exactly why I proposed the conditions back last year. I think it's important that we don't have something which looks like it's been done on the cheap and something that residents and the public will look at and not like. So I am pleased that we decided to bring it back. That being said, I think it's quite comprehensive, the report here, and everything seems to look quite nice. We do have a bit of a patchwork feel in the city, so again, I shadow Councillor Hunt's comments about having a bit more of a theme running through the city and something a bit more uniform, and I hope that that's something that officers can speak among themselves to try and ensure that we have. But happy with what's come forward. I think it's the right decision to make, and therefore I'm also happy to second.
Thank you very much. So I've got a proposal by Councillor Lee Hunt and seconded by Terry Norton. Councillor Judith Smythe, you very kindly said you second that, but did you have a comment at all before we go to the vote? No? Okay. Any more comments from members then, please? No? Okay, so we have a motion on the table, and this was proposed by Councillor Lee Hunt, that we grant planning permission in accordance with the officer's recommendation. I don't think there's any subject to amendments to the supplementary sheet. The motion was seconded by Councillor Terry Norton. So I'll just check with the planning officer. Have they got any comments before we go to the vote at all? Alan at all? Any comments?
Thank you, Chair. Can I just repeat? We're seeking delegated authority to the Assistant Director if we get any late representations because the period for publicity had to be extended until today.
Right. Okay. So thank you, Alan, for clearing that up. So Councillor Lee Hunt and Councillor Terry Norton, are you happy with what Alan's just said? Yes. Okay. Kieran, are you happy?
Yes, thank you. So that's delegated authority to approve the details reserved by planning conditions in this report.
Okay, members, so that's what we're voting on. So we'll now go to the vote, and obviously I'll ask each member to switch on their mic and just say either they're for or against, or do they wish to abstain. So Councillor Judith Smythe, please. Would you indicate if you're for or against, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Councillor Atwell, please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Hunt, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Donna Jones, please indicate if you're for or against the motion.
For, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Terry Norton, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Stagg, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you. I call upon Councillor Luke Stubbs. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Claire Udy, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll cast my own vote, and it's for what's in front of us. So I think, Jane, that's unanimous, but just double check.
Yes, it was unanimous.
Thank
Chair.
you very much. Thank you very much, members. So that was carried. Thank you very much for that. So we're now moving on swiftly to the third application, and this is for number 9, Victoria Grove, Southsea. So could the planning officer who's dealing with that please do their presentation? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just share my screen. Can everyone see the presentation?
Yes.
Yeah. Lovely. Okay. So, good afternoon again, Chair and members. This application relates to a substantial 2-storey detached property located on the south of Victoria Grove and bounded to the north by St Bartholomew's Garden. The property is set back from the roadway either side and is bounded by a solid brick boundary wall along its northern and southern elevation, and the property has a large rear garden that includes a garage accessed by along St Bartholomew's Garden. Planning permission is sought for 2 main elements: the construction of a single-storey extension to the main house and the construction of a detached outbuilding, as well as the associated installation of an area of raised decking and a swimming pool. The site is located within the Campbell Road Conservation Area. You can see the existing front elevations of the property. To begin with, on the extension, the proposed extension, seen here on the proposed elevations, would measure 3.4 metres in height, 8.5 metres in depth, and 2.5 metres in width. It will be finished in brickwork to match the existing property and include a set of bifolding doors along its northern elevation. The proposed extension is considered would be obscured from public view by the existing property and the high boundary treatment to the north along St Bartholomew's Garden. Further, the use of matching brickwork would allow it to appear sympathetic to the existing dwelling, while it is a more modern and more modern design approach. Given the existing character of the property, this is considered to be more suitable than trying to replicate the exact character of the dwelling, so as to appear as a clear insert into the site. The proposal is therefore, in the officer's view, considered to preserve the character and appearance of the conservation area. Above, you can see some photos of the rear of the property and its relationship with the neighbouring property to the west, so number 7 Victoria Grove. The proposed extension will be located to the northwestern corner of the property and would be an infill extension that would abut the common boundary with number 7 Victoria Grove. It's noted number 7 Victoria Grove features an existing lean-to that runs along this boundary. So given the existing built form at the site, it's not considered that the proposed extension would give rise to a significant level of loss of light or a significant increase in their sense of enclosure. Given the property's proposed location and the layout of the surrounding residential dwellings, it's not considered that the proposal would have any significant amenity impact on the surrounding neighbours to the north, east, south. So there you can see the front elevation of the property and another view, and then the view looking down north along the eastern along the boundary with number 7 Victoria Grove. One second. The proposed outbuilding would feature an L-shaped footprint and to a depth of 6.5 metres and a width of 7.4 metres. Due to an uneven ground levels at the site, the outbuilding would measure 2.5 metres in height when viewed from the street level of St Bartholomew's Gardens and 3 metres when measured from the site. It would also feature a flat roof and would feature 2 pergolas on either end of the outbuilding, and it would replace an existing garage with a slightly increased footprint. Additional work would take place to install an area of raised decking around a pool to a height of 0.45 metres above ground level for an area of approximately 58 metres squared in the rear of the garden. Above you can see the proposed outbuilding when viewed from the garden facing north, so towards St Bartholomew's Gardens, and when viewed from facing east, so towards number 11 Victoria Grove. The proposed outbuilding would replace an existing rear garage with an increased footprint and will be set away from the northern boundary wall, so along St Bartholomew's Gardens, by an approximate distance of 1 metre, which will be allowing for pedestrian access. The existing solid brick wall along St Bartholomew's Gardens would obscure a large portion of the outbuilding and the other works that are proposed for the garden from public view. Above you can see the side of the outbuilding when viewed from the west from number 9 Victoria, when viewed from the west from number 11 Victoria Grove. So you see the existing boundary that intercepts the 2 sites, and you see, and there's below is the view when looking south from St Bartholomew's Gardens. So that's what you'd see from street level along there. The proposed outbuilding would have a modest overall height and feature a contemporary appearance that would be similar to the proposed single-storey extension. And overall, given the existing built form that the outbuilding would replace and the appropriate appearance and materials of the proposed appropriate materials, the outbuilding is considered to preserve the character and appearance of the conservation area. Here you can see the site when viewed from St Bartholomew's Gardens, with the existing garage in situ to the left. The neighbouring properties to the north are set away from the site by the roadway, and given the existing boundary treatment at the site and the existing built form, it's not considered that the development would give rise to a significant impact upon the neighbour to the north's amenity through a loss of light or a sense of enclosure. Here you can see the existing garage when looking east from the garden. And here you can see the existing trellis between the site and number 11 Victoria Grove. Views to the west looking towards number 7 and number 5 of Victoria Grove, and the similar garages that have been constructed along that front St Bartholomew's Gardens with similar massing and scale. The neighbouring property to the east, so that's number 11, features an existing rear garage which is set away from the common boundary by their pedestrian rear access and an approximate width of 1.35 metres. The existing garage at the rear of the site abuts this boundary, and while the proposed outbuilding would increase the eaves height along this boundary, it would only be a modest increase, and considering that this stretch of their garden is used primarily as an entrance, it's not considered that the proposal would give rise to a significant impact on their amenity. Additionally, the use of the outbuilding would be conditioned to restrict its use to only those incidental to the enjoyment of the dwelling house. Just briefly, in terms of the loss of the garage and the impact upon the parking is noted. However, there's no condition restricting the use of the garage for parking or for its retention. Additionally, once the existing garage is removed, the drop curb at the rear of the property would also be removed and enable the space to be used for parking of the general public. While it's acknowledged that the swimming pool is not a traditional feature of the conservation area, the proposal is considered to be relatively modest in scale. Noise concerns have been raised by surrounding residents because of the plant room which is proposed to serve the swimming pool. The council's environmental health officer has reviewed the plans, and subject to it being installed and lined with the acoustic materials and louver as specified, they have raised no objection. In addition, the decked area proposed to the northern section of the garden is considered to be acceptable given the large scale of the existing garden to the rear and side, and the proposed rear decking is considered to relate appropriately to the contemporary appearance of the outbuilding and proposed extension. And while the raised decking would increase the amount of overlooking between the site and the neighbouring properties to the west and east, given the existing relationship and the minor height of the decking at 0.45 metres, it's not considered that this would be sufficient as to justify refusal of the application. And issues of drainage have been raised, but these aren't regarded to be a material planning consideration and would have to be worked out with Southern Water. So having regards to all the material considerations, representations and planning policy, it is concluded that the development is acceptable. I have two deputations I'll read now. That's okay?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Matthew.
Go back to the plans. So this is a deputation from a neighbour, Linda Burton, who lives at number 10 St Bartholomew's Gardens. Size. The wording of the application says that there is to be a single-storey outbuilding to replace the original garage, and included in this is a pump room. Looking at the plans, it can be seen that the pump room is not, in fact, to be on the footprint of the original garage, but is to be in a continuation of a building inside the wall fronting St Bartholomew's Gardens, therefore increasing the footprint of the development. Next to the pump room, there is another room of unidentified use. We would like some clarification as to the use of this room, which appears to contain a bed, sofa, or a table. The applicant, when asked at a meeting held at her request, did not seem to know herself what the purpose of this room was, so an explanation would be welcome. Design. The building replacing the garage will represent a solid brick wall fronting onto St Bartholomew's Gardens, being approximately 2.6 metres in height with a flat roof. It will extend approximately 4.2 metres inside the current wall and be about 0.8 metres higher than this. The whole appearance of this looks like a large brick block and is completely out of keeping with the appearance and character of the area. Loss of garage. This will lead to more on-street parking issues in this already challenged neighbourhood. It is a concern in an area where there's already been considerable pressure on parking spaces from local restaurants, bars and the King's Theatre. The current garage is indeed in a poor state of repair, but could be renovated. The previous occupant was able to garage his existing four-door saloon quite successfully for many years. Committee report 20th of October, point 5.23, increased use of the garden and noise. Members of the committee may be aware that a number of complaints and calls to police have been made about noise and loud music from large gatherings in the garden during the lockdown period. A number of trees in the garden had muffled the noise to some degree, but now some trees have been felled and the remaining 2 or 3 have been reduced considerably in size by pruning. Were the committee minded to approve this application, we respectfully request that the applicant be required to install some form of noise attenuation. We and the other nearby residents would like to have quiet enjoyment of our own properties and also be able to have an uninterrupted night's sleep. The guidelines in respect of the Campbell Road Conservation Area are very clear about the fact that new development and alterations to existing properties should complement and enhance the appearance and character of the area. We would respectfully contend that this application is not sympathetic or sensitive to the surrounding area and would have a detrimental impact on what would be a very fine example of a large Victorian property. I'll now read the deputation from the applicant. Members of the committee, thank you for listening to this deputation in support of the applicant's modest kitchen extension and outbuilding / small swimming pool. I'm quite surprised that such a modest proposals have needed to be presented to you, but understand the sensitivities of developing within a conservation area. I am grateful for the objective assessment and favourable recommendation of officers. The driving issue behind the swimming pool has been related to a single mother's desire to rehabilitate her daughter's health and movement following a stroke. It is unfortunate that my agent's planning and heritage statement was not originally uploaded to the council's webpage for this application, as those who have written in might have better understood the design solution submitted. Be that as it may, I've carefully read my neighbours' comments and have also met with some of them for over an hour so they could explain their concerns. I have now twice amended the scheme in respect of the outbuilding, reducing its height compared to the ridge of the existing dilapidated garage, and most recently deleting the westward edging surrounding the swimming pool. Although this part of the structure would not have had foundations, it was deemed to be in the root production area for TPO trees. As such, it was reduced on advice of my arboricultural consultant. Your tree officer is happy with the report and amendment. Other tree work in the garden has been sanctioned by the council under a separate previous application. Plenty of garden space will remain, and an internal fence line to the front garden is being moved to retain a generous garden space around the proposed outbuilding on a plot which is much wider than the others in the area. A meeting was held with the case officer and environmental health officer following neighbours' concerns about the pump room to be used with the swimming pool and a fire pit that had originally been part of the design. The acoustic performance of the pump has been reviewed by your officers, and a window to the enclosed plant space has now been deleted in favour of a grille. The pump is now also to be partly placed below ground level to further attenuate the very low level of noise it might emit. The fire pit has been omitted from the amended plan, and your officers have no objection to the proposals. I consider that neighbours had not realised that my garden is some 0.4 metres lower than the pavement level in St Bartholomew's garden, and that the outbuilding's north wall will be set back from the boundary wall. It will be faced with salvaged bricks to match those of the boundary wall and house, and as advised in your 1995 Conservation Guidelines, its flat roof design matches the appearance of the two flat roofed garages either side of my plot, and so is in keeping with the character of the immediate other outbuildings in this part of the conservation area. A flat roof keeps its profile lower and certainly does not dominate like a very large pitched roof garage at the rear of number 13 Victoria Grove, which the council approved in 1999, nor the bulk and scale of the flats at Roof Court seen on page 2 of my agent's planning and heritage statement. The comments relating to the kitchen extension are mostly to do with the neighbour being able to maintain their property where the lean-to structure has been built right up to the common boundary wall. No shading or reverse sense of enclosure will result from the proposed kitchen extension, again finished in red brick to match the house. Reasonable access will be, of course, given to my neighbour where it is sought to help maintain their property. In conclusion, I consider the amended proposals are compliant with your local plan policy PCS 23 and the conservation area guidance, and ask for your support so I can give my daughter a healthy and more comfortable future. Thank you for listening and stay safe. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Matthew. Is that all the deputations? Yes?
Yes, all the deputations, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Matthew, again. So we're now going to move to questions from members, which is to be directed to the planning officer. And I noticed Councillor Lee Hunt got in there first. So Councillor Lee Hunt, question please to Matthew, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for your report. I wonder if you just tell me, because I can't see it very well from here, the new construction that's proposed on the north elevation boundary, that's the boundary of St Bartholomew's Gardens, is that built away from the wall or right up to the established wall, or is it built onto the wall? In other words, is it step back? And if it is step back, how far in from the wall is it?
Just to be clear, this is the northern boundary of the outbuilding and its relationship with the northern boundary wall on St Bartholomew's.
Yes.
Yeah. It is approximately 1 metre distance set back from the boundary wall, so there will be separation.
And no overhanging of the wall?
No, not that has been shown on the plans.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Councillor Donna-Jones, please. Questions to the officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I've actually got a question for Simon Turner, if he is if he's on the call at the moment, although the planning officer may well know it as well. Simon sent an update to us on, I think it was Monday this week, to explain why this application was coming to committee, because I think, if I've got this right, during the COVID period, if a neighbour or someone who is part of the formal consultation process objects and puts in a deputation, then requests, obviously that triggers it coming to committee. First of all, have I interpreted that right? And secondly, is this just for the period of COVID? Because again, with a heavy workload, this is not normally one that would necessarily come to committee. It would have been done under delegated had it not have been brought because of that rule change. And I'm just conscious that this might be something we want to include on our subsequent review meeting next week or whenever it happens.
Okay.
Chairman, I'm here to answer the question.
Yes, Simon, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Jones. Yes, I don't think COVID changes the scheme of delegation, which was updated, as it happens, just before we entered COVID period, and has continued in the form that it was approved just before COVID. So yes, as you said, I circulated that to members as requested on Monday. So in this instance, the combination of an objection and a deputation request, contrary to the officer recommendation, means that it has to come to committee under the present scheme of delegation.
Donna-Jones, Councillor Donna-Jones, did you want to come back on that?
Thank you, Simon. Just a request to you, really, then, Chair, if this is one that we could possibly consider when we have our cross-party catch-up on the, delegation authorities subsequently. Thank you.
Well said. Okay, thank you, Councillor Jones. I'll take note of that. Simon, is that okay with you then?
Oops. Yes, Councillor. As I said, that will be progressed with yourselves and the other senior councillor members as well.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Okay, so members, we're still looking for any questions to the officers. Not many coming forward at the moment. Anybody else for any questions before we move to comments? No? Okay then. So we're going to go to comments. Councillor Lee Hunt was there first. Councillor Lee Hunt, comments, please.
I mean, the front of the property, which is the most important part, is going to be preserved and so on. I don't see any problem with that. I think looking at the planning merits, which is what we're supposed to do, I did listen to the deputation about noise and so on, but of course that's a matter for other officers in the council and the enforcement and the police and so on. But I can't see any reason to refuse it at all. They seem to have covered everything. The back of that road there, for those people who aren't aware of St Bartholomew's Gardens that much, in modern houses, quite nice houses, very nice houses actually. I went to look at them, but people my age can't buy them. I have to wait till I'm 65 to get those ones. And so it's a very big mix around there, 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, and so on. And I don't think that this marginal increase in height, step 1 metre away from the back wall, will be noticed all that much comparing the garages that are already in sight. As far as the loss of parking, which has been raised, the officers rightly pointed out that the loss of the garage will mean that somebody else, or maybe two people, can park there now. I'm very surprised they want to lose the garage in this particular area, but perhaps it says something about the parking zone working very well indeed around there. Sorry about that, but it does actually, and people have a benefit from the parking zone around there. So there you are. So I can't see any reason not to want to propose the officer's report. Which is what I'm doing, I guess.
So you.
Yes.
So you're proposing
the report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hunt. So you're proposing the report in front of us. Thank you very much, Councillor Young. Councillor Donna-Jones, you were second, please.
Thank you, Chair. No comment, but I'd like to second the officer's report. Second Councillor Hunt's proposal, I should say.
Thank you very much. I can feel the love eventually. Thank you very much. Any other councillors wish to have any comments before we go to the vote then? Okay then. So we have a motion on the table that was proposed by Councillor Lee Hunt that we grant planning permission and recommendation. The motion was seconded by Councillor Donna Jones. I'll just check with the planning officer. Any additional comments before we go to the vote?
No, Chair, no additional comments from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the proposal, are you happy with what's in front of us? Kieran, are you happy for us to proceed?
Yes, thank you, Councillor. Motion to propose in accordance with, motion to approve in accordance with the officer's recommendation.
Right, that's what we're all voting on. Thank you, Kieran. So I now call upon Councillor Judith Smythe. Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion, Chair.
Thank you. Call upon Councillor Matthew Atkins. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Atwell, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you very much. I call upon Councillor Lee Hunt. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion, Chair.
Thank you very much. I call upon Councillor Donna Jones. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Terry Norton, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Lynn Stagg, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Call upon Councillor Luke Stubbs. Please indicate if you're for or against, or do you wish to abstain? For. Thank you. Councillor Claire Oudie, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion.
Thank you very much. And now call upon myself to vote, and obviously I'm for the motion. So I think, Jane, that's unanimous.
Sorry for that delay, Chair. Yes, it was unanimous.
So that's been carried. So granting permission has been carried. Thank you very much then for that. Members, are you happy for me to carry on, or do you want a short break? You're happy for me to carry on? Yep. Okay then. So the planning officer will now present the next application, and this is number 46, Merlin Drive, Portsmouth. Would the planning officer like to do the presentation, please?
Yes, certainly, Chair. Good afternoon, members. I'll just
Good afternoon.
share my screen. Let me know when you can see it.
We can see it.
Hooray. So, members, this is a retrospective application for the continued use of the existing outbuilding in the rear garden of 46 Merlin Drive, Hilsey, as a hair salon operated by the occupier of the property. We have Norway Road to the north, and then feeding into Merlin Drive with Hobby Close to the north. And the application site we're looking at is at the far end of Merlin Drive. This is the extent of adopted highway leading into a private parking court. The property has 2 parking spaces, one directly outside the house and one on the opposite side. So again, we have the application site with the location of the outbuilding. There's a car parking space here, and the photograph shows leading in from Merlin Drive into the parking court. The rendered property at the end is the application site. Can you still hear me?
I can, yes.
Yes, we can all hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
So this slide shows the site, the block plan of the site. And we've got the house with the rear garden and the summer house at the end, and the 2 relevant parking spaces that are allocated to this property. This slide shows a view of the outbuilding from garden level, and then taken from a first floor window of the application site. And this is the direct immediate neighbour that adjoins at number 45. You will note that there's a 2-metre high timber fence between the 2 properties, and it's understood that this fence is in the ownership of number 45 and was erected to concerns about overlooking, and both neighbours shared the cost for its installation. The proposal then is to use this outbuilding as a hair salon. The applicant currently wishes building to specialise in wedding hair trials, which typically doesn't include the washing of hair and the use of hair dryers. However, members must consider that such activities could and typically do take place in a hair salon, and these particular nuances couldn't be controlled. It's noted that there aren't any washing facilities actually in the outbuilding at the moment, and in the past hair has been washed in the house. The applicant has, during the course of the application, amended her proposed working days to only 3 days, being Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays of each week, between the hours of 9 AM and 3 PM to fit around her family commitments. The applicant is the only staff member and therefore can only deal with 1 appointment at a time, although an appointment for a wedding hair trial may occasionally also be attended by a friend or a family member to share the experience. This is all obviously members at the moment subject to whatever COVID-19 rules apply at the time. So the main considerations are, is the principle of this business use in a residential area acceptable? Are there any adverse highway and parking implications as a result? And is there any significant loss of residential amenity to those residing nearby? During the course of the application, we received 13 objections and 3 in support. The full summary of comments raised in representations are in full in your report, but predominantly the objections relate to that this isn't an appropriate use residential area, there is insufficient parking availability to support the business, the noise and disturbance generated by the business activity, such as very audible conversations, particularly when the hairdryer is in use or on fine days when the door of the outbuilding is open, has continued to result in detrimental impact on the quiet enjoyment of the neighbouring property at number 45. The support comments were that this proposal would benefit local people to have a salon close by, particularly the elderly in the area, and the business use has had no negative impact on local parking. So to address those main considerations, in terms of the principle, a business operating from home, providing it's modest in scale and activity, can be considered acceptable in a residential area, and a hairdressing business is not an uncommon such use. This is the inside of the building. You can see how it's laid out. This is the door and the window that faces back up towards the application site, but you can see the close boarded fence out of that window in that direction. To address highway and parking issues, this slide shows you the extent of the adopted highway in pink, and the cross indicates the application site. Please note the parking courts are outside of the extent of the adopted highway. Given that the use of the allocated car parking spaces for each house are limited by a condition that was imposed on the original planning permission for the whole development to purposes incidental to the use of the dwelling houses, it must be considered that any clients driving to their appointments will park in any available on-street parking spaces nearby. Now, the following 4 photographs, slides, are showing you the area at the end of the cul-de-sac that's available parking unrestricted, and there's a bay there for 5 cars, 3 cars there, and there are a couple of places along here that you can park without any restrictions as well. So here we are at the end of the cul-de-sac. There's the parking bay for the 5. Another view looking west. 3 parking spaces in this bay, and there's spaces there and just further down here. Now, these photographs were taken at approximately 10:15 on a weekday recently, and they serve as a snapshot to show that at that time there were spaces available at a time corresponding to those that are applied for in this application. It's noted that the Highway Authority has raised no objection on traffic generation and parking, and it is considered that there's sufficient parking availability during daytime weekdays when parking demand in the area is less than evenings and weekends to support a business from home that would typically generate only one client vehicle at a time without adversely affecting parking availability in the area. Now, these photographs are taken from the adjoining property at number 45. So this is from the garden patio area, and you can just see the top of the outbuilding there. And then we have it looking from their first floor window, looking down onto the conservatory. In terms of residential amenity, the objections received from the occupiers of the neighbouring property at number 45 explain they've experienced for some while noise disturbance and inconvenience as a result of the business activity to date. It's noted that the business has, being a retrospective application, up until this point, operated unfettered by any restrictions. So it's understood that weekend and evening appointments have previously taken place. You will note that the recommended conditions there's one to control the days and the hours of operation to those specified. So that's 3 days a week between essentially school hours, 9 to 3. And one to exclude the garden area from the business use, apart from getting to and from the main house, to avoid consultations being held outside on fine days. So these measures in combination are considered appropriate to ensure a modest level of business activity within the site and a reasonable relationship with surrounding properties to ensure the hair salon activity does not significantly adversely affect the quiet enjoyment of neighbouring houses and gardens. So the proposal is considered capable of support, and with your okay, Chair, I can read out the 2 deputations received.
Yes, please. We'd love to hear them. Thank you.
So the first is a deputation from the objectors, Mrs. Rosemary Bassett and Mr. Brian Dolly, homeowners of 45 Merlin Drive. We have lived in Merlin Drive for 14 plus years, and it's a small cul-de-sac location, 46 being the last property in the parking this end of the drive. This end of the drive is all privately owned, leaving little off-road parking, as most of the other properties only have one space. We have had issues with clients' pavement parking, car parking blocking and knocking our door, and our own visitor being approached asked if they were customers. Nobody wants to fall out with neighbours, but after we approached Mrs. Clark, re the growing noise from the garden, we were met with abuse, so informed her that we would be contacting planning, and so we did. And were informed by Mr. George, Mrs. Clark was applying for a retrospective application and will be allowed to continue until the decision was made. On the 11th of September, that was in 2018. On the 11th of September 2019, we were informed Mrs. Clark no longer intended to proceed, so the breach of planning control has now ceased and was closing the case. Mrs. Clark continued the business as usual, so after informing Mrs. Clark we would be contacting the planning again, she then reapplies again, being allowed to continue. So after 2 summers of being unable to sit or read in any peace in our own garden, the outhouse for this salon is no more than an oversized shed with women and girls trying to shout over the hairdryer noise and windows wide open from 7:30 a.m. until 10:30 p.m. and later, so I hope you understand our frustration with the planning process. We believe this business is not suitable for the location. There are many empty shops or hundreds of chairs to hire by the day or hour without inconveniencing Merlin Drive or Hobby Close residents. It's so unnecessary. I also believe Mrs. Clark's new application from 9 till 3 will not be adhered to due to Mrs. Clark's continued business after claiming to Mr. George the business had ceased to operate. We understand the recent delays due to COVID situation, but we hope to be able to get some peaceful use of our garden. We bought this location for quiet retirement. If this application is approved, it would not be possible. Thank you for your consideration, Rosemary Bassett and Brian Dolly. Chair, if I now move to the second deputation, which is from the...
Yes, please. I'd like to hear the next one.
Okay, this is from the applicant, Karen Clark. Dear Sir, Madam, I would like to respond to the deputation made by Rosemary Bassett and Brian Dolly in objection to the above application submitted by me. The issues listed in paragraph 2, client pavement parking and car parking blocking, are exaggerated. The latter happened on one occasion and was quickly rectified. The parking provision was a one-off by a friend who was paying a social visit, and she left my house at 10:30 p.m. A warning note was left on her windscreen by the residents at 45. Somebody knocking on a door in error can happen to anyone, and it was my 5-year-old son who approached their visitor. The objectors say they have had 2 summers of being unable to read or sit in any peace in their garden, but this is again a complete exaggeration. There is no possibility of me being able to work from 7:30 till 10:30 and later, as you will read below. The other objections were as a result of Rosemary Bassett posting a copy of the planning application through the letterboxes of surrounding houses and adding text to it, advising neighbours that parking would become a serious problem if action was not taken to oppose my planning application. This was scaremongering in my view and without justification. Mrs. Bassett and Mr. Dolly have said nobody wants to fall out with neighbours, but their constant watch on my activities has caused a great deal of stress to me and my family. I would like to add the following statement of support in my application. I have lived in Portsmouth all my life and have worked as a hairdresser for the past 25 years. I pride myself in being totally professional and am committed to building a small but successful business in wedding hairdressing to contribute financially to raising our 2 young children. We are a very happy, busy and sociable family. The summer house was already in place in the garden when we moved into our house, and the opportunity to use it for hairdressing appointments with clients seemed a perfect solution for me. I had no idea there would be such strong opposition from our immediate neighbours, and it is disappointing that they have not approached me to calmly discuss their concerns. The local press coverage generated by them attempted to sensationalise the issue, but in my view it failed. The reality is that I hope to run a single-handed business with 1 client at a time on 3 days a week during school hours. I have no access to childcare other than school and nursery for my children, so I wouldn't and couldn't reach the suggested hours. My client could park in one of our 2 allocated spaces as my husband works nearby during the week. I would direct clients which space to use so as not to inconvenience our neighbours, and there would be no hindrance to emergency access. The cost of chair rental per day within a salon is expensive when there is only 1 client in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. It would make my business unviable on a permanent basis. As it is, when my clients have been unable to make an appointment during the week, I've gone to the expense of paying for a chair rental within a salon at weekends. The accusation raised by an objector about whether I adhere to health and safety rules and waste disposal rules appears to me to be casting doubt about my practice as a hairdresser and is irrelevant to this application. I am totally aware of all the health and safety issues which I need to comply with, and I am fully COVID-19 compliant in my work. In response to the objection raised concerning noise disturbance as a result of communication levels between applicant and clients, if this application is approved, I will explain to my clients in advance that they should keep their voice down when entering or leaving the summer house. Yours faithfully, Karen Clark. Thank you, Chair. That's the end of the deputations.
Thank you, Alison, and thank you for that very good presentation as well. So we're now going to move to questions from members, which will be directed to the planning officer. So the first person to come in for a question was Councillor Terry Norton.
Forgive me, Chair. My question's been answered now. It's a comment, if possible, so I'm happy to wait.
Okay, thank you very much. Any more questions then from members, please, before we go to the comments from Councillor Terry Norton? No more questions? Okay, so we're now going to move on to comments. So Councillor Terry Norton, please. You were in for a comment, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Now, this to me seems like a fairly clear-cut one, really. This is a sole business owner who is balancing running a family with trying to earn a living. They've paid for half of the fence. They've amended their working hours. It seems like they are being as considerate as they possibly can be. So on planning grounds, I think I have to propose this and hope that the neighbours can sort out any differences they have in the future.
Thank you very much. That's proposed from Councillor Terry Norton. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please. You were the second for comments, please. Councillor Atkins.
Yes, Chair. I'd like to echo the comments of Councillor Norton and second his proposal of the officer's report. I think the applicant has behaved reasonably here. This is a reasonable sized garden building. I think the use of it for small business will be mainly in the daytime. Currently, obviously, during the COVID situation, people are indoors more than they might be, but the business won't be running during that time. In normal times, one extra car, a single client at a time seems quite reasonable, and I don't think that has any substantial impact on neighbouring amenity. So I'm sorry the neighbours have got into a dispute over this, but I think it's a reasonable proposal, and I'm happy to second the officer recommendation.
Thank you very much. So you're happy to second the officer recommendation. Thank you very much, Councillor Atkins. Councillor Lee Hunt, please. You had a comment, please.
Yeah, so the report regularises what's going on right now. It's entrepreneurial. I'm sorry that there's some dispute, but it is a very small business. The conditions control everything between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock on 3 days a week. So its impact has got to be quite minimal, I would have thought. I'd probably make more noise in my back garden, quite frankly, during the summer. So anyway, like as Councillor Norton's just said, I hope people can sort themselves out. These are always difficult applications like this, but on planning grounds, there's absolutely no reason to refuse it.
Thank you very much to Councillor Hunt. Anybody else wish to make a comment at all before we go to the vote? Councillor Claire Oody, you've got your hand up. Councillor Oody.
Sorry, my chat function wasn't working. I'm really sorry just to pry a little bit in the questions. Is it Karen's deputation said that she's using her thing for a wedding hairdressing business and then saying that she's only having one person along? I'm just kind of questioning that, because surely if you go for a wedding hairdressing appointment, you normally take other people with you to that appointment to get your hair done, because you all want to see how it goes, and you'd have more than one person there to kind of like be your bridesmaids and stuff. So I know the applicant's not here, so I probably shouldn't even bring it up. I'm just questioning that. I'm feeling a bit.
It's a good point, Councillor. I know we're on comments now, but I didn't see you. That's all right. I mean, members, just quickly, can Alison, can you just quickly answer that?
Yes, certainly. I did acknowledge in my report that, or certainly in my verbal report just then, that for an appointment for a wedding hair trial, occasionally they are attended by an additional friend or family member to share in the experience. It's likely they would come in the same car, but even if they came in two separate cars, I don't think there is a material adverse effect on the parking availability within the area.
Thank you for clarifying that, Alison. That's very kind of you. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please, a comment, please. Councillor Atkins.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify that that I think Councillor Norton and I, similar to Alison, whether it's one person or slightly more, in occasionally probably coming in one or two cars, it's not likely to create significant amenity if over a single appointment, because it'll be a single appointment at a time. Those people will leave and the next client will turn up. It's not a busy business. It's not going to create huge residential amenity impact, in my view.
Thank you very much, Councillor Atkins. Any more comments, please, members, before we go to the vote? No? Okay, so with the motion on the table proposed by Councillor Terry Norton that we grant a prospective planning permission in accordance with the officer's recommendations, and this was seconded by Councillor Matthew Atkins. So I'll just clarify with the planning officer, has she had any, does she want any more comments added before we go to the vote? Alison?
I have no further comments to make. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, just check with Kieran. Are you happy, Kieran, that we carry on?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's a motion to grant retrospective planning permission in accordance with the officer's recommendation.
Very, very clear. Thank you very much, Kieran. So I now call upon Councillor Judith Smythe. Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
Thank you, Chair. I'm for the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please indicate you're for or against, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Chris Atwell, would you please indicate if you're for, against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Hunt, for, against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Donna Jones, please indicate if you're for, against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Terry Norton, please indicate if you're for, against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lynn Stagg, please indicate if you're for, against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Luke Stubbs, please indicate if you're for, against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Claire Udy, please indicate if you're for, against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion.
Thank you very much. And myself, I'm for the motion. So I think, Claire, that was unanimous again.
Yes, Chair, it was unanimous.
So that's been carried. Thank you very much, members. So moving on to the next application. I know, Councillor Lynn Stagg, you have to leave us about 5 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Chair.
Okay, so it's 15:15. Hopefully, we may be able to get into. You may be able to see this one. I've just had Councillor Donna Jones. You wish to add something, Councillor Donna Jones?
Thank you, Chair. I will actually leave the meeting for this item and rejoin afterwards because I actually do know Councillor Frank Jonas's daughter Anne and her husband Kevin, who are the applicants for this on a personal level, and I've known them for some time. So it's personal but not pecuniary. But I do believe that it would be right for me to leave the meeting as I do know them. The other Conservative councillors don't know Councillor Jonas's daughter and son-in-law, but I do. So.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor. I'm sure somebody will get back to you, Councillor, for the next item, if we could make sure that somebody gets back to Councillor Donna Jones when the next item is on. Councillor Matthew Atkins, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wish to confirm that I would not be leaving the meeting because although I know Councillor Jonas, I don't know this applicant, and I don't feel my ability to make a decision is affected by knowing Councillor Jonas. So I'll not be leaving.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to say anything before we start on the application? No?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, Chair. Sorry, I guess I need to shadow that as well then. Same position as Councillor Atkins for me.
I think, yeah, and the same for me, really. I think it's just personal, really. The question is, would it judge you, would it judge your decision? And I would like to say the same issue, really. I know the family, but, I say I don't know them, but I'm aware of them. But mine's just a bit personal, really. That's it, really. But I'm still happy to see both sides here today and make an informed decision. So thank you very much. Okay, then. So the planning officer will now present the next application, and this is number 36, Paynes Road, Southsea, please. Thank you very much. Over to you, Matthew, again, I understand.
Yes, I thought it was a certificate application, but that's fine. Bear me a second.
Sorry, Chair. Yeah, so sorry. The Drayton Lane application is the one that we've declared, Councillor Jones has declared an interest in, and we've mentioned. So, we probably need to. So if we're looking at Southsea, we'll let Councillor Jones know to come back in.
Sorry, I've got on my paperwork 36 Paynes Road as the next application. Is that correct?
I think it's 47 Drayton Lane, Chair.
Yeah, you've skipped one, Chair. You've skipped item 5.
Sorry.
Easily done.
Sorry, I do apologise, everybody. So should we carry on with this? Should we carry on with the one that Councillor Jones is not here? I think yes. So can we carry on with again that application, which was for 47 Drayton Lane? That's it. I've got it now. So we'll hear that application. I do apologise, members and officers. So let's hear about 47 Drayton Lane, please.
Councillor Jones, if you're listening, could you leave and then come back per invitation, please?
She's done so, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, she's muted herself and turned off the camera, but that's not necessarily the same thing. if she can't hear it, there's nothing more you can do. She's not participating. I have to take it at that.
I think she made it very clear, Kieran, that she would be going, and I did say about someone getting hold of us. I think she clearly knows that, so I haven't got any issue with that. And if you haven't, I think she's well and truly out the room. Okay, so we'll go on now to number 47, Drayton Lane, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. I'm just going to get my presentation loaded. Whilst I'm doing so, as the councillors have already mentioned, the applicant is related to Councillor Frank Jonas, and which is the reason why the application is being brought to Planning Committee. I hope everyone can now see my screen.
Yes, because
Brilliant. Okay, so the application seeks confirmation that the proposed outbuilding would be lawful when assessed against Schedule 2, Part 1, Class E of the Town and Country Planning General Permitted Development Order. As shown on the location plan, the proposed outbuilding would be located tight to the western rear boundary. Due to this close proximity to the boundary, the proposed outbuilding cannot exceed 2.5 metres in height, as set out in the legislation. The proposed elevations show the maximum height of the proposed outbuilding to be approximately 2.5 metres in accordance with Class E. Materials are not a consideration of Class E, however, from the plans it is noted that the outbuilding will be finished in a timber clad. This is a site visit photo showing where the proposed outbuilding would be located. To conclude, the proposal is in accordance with the contents as set out within Schedule 2, Part 1, Class E of the Town and Country Planning General Permitted Development Order, and therefore a certificate should be granted.
thank you, Summer. Is that it? Yeah.
Yes, that's it, Chair.
Thank you very much. Very quick. I wish they were all like that. Thank you very much. So you've now heard the presentation, members. So we now move on to any questions to Summer, please, from members. Any questions, please, members? No? No questions? Okay, we're going to go on now to comments, please. Can members give us any comments? Lee Hunt came in. Any comments, please, Councillor Hunt? And then that's followed by Councillor Luke Stubbs.
Yeah, thank
Councillor
you
Lee
for
Hunt.
the officers. Can I just move the officers' report recommendations, please?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Hunt. So you are proposing that. Councillor Luke Stubbs, please, a comment, please.
I'd like to second that proposal.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stubbs. Anybody else wish to have any comments, please, before we go to the vote? Okay, so we have a motion on the table proposed by Councillor Lee Hunt, and that a certificate of lawful development is granted in accordance with the officer's recommendations, and that was seconded by Councillor Luke Stubbs. I'll just check with the planning officer. Summer, anything you want to add before we go to the vote?
No further comments. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Kieran, you're happy with everything?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's a proposal to grant a lawful development certificate in accordance with the officer's recommendation.
Okay, you've heard from Kieran. That's what we're voting on. So I now call upon Councillor Judith Smythe. Please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please indicate if you are for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Atwell, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Hunt, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Councillor Donna Jones obviously is not with us. Councillor Terry Norton, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
Yeah, for, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lindstag, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Luke Stubbs, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Claire Moody, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you. I now cast my vote, and I'm for the motion in front of us. I think, Jane, another very easy one. I think it's unanimous.
Yes, that's right, Chair.
So that has been granted. Thank you very much, members. So can someone get hold of Councillor Donna Jones, please?
Donna Jones, yes.
Thank you very much. And could she let us know when she's back in the room, please?
Hello, I'm back in the room.
Thank you very much, Councillor Donna Jones. Thank you for that. So we're all back to normal now, members, and I'll move on to the next application. As Councillor Lynn Stagg says, I think she has to leave about 5 o'clock. Is that correct, Councillor Stagg?
Yes, it is. Thank you. I mean,
Okay.
I can go a little bit over if necessary, if I see this.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We've got half an hour, Councillor, so see what we can do. So the next planning in front of us, number 36 Paynes Road. I think that's Matthew who's going to present that.
Yes, that's correct, Chair. 1 second, just trying to open up PowerPoint.
That's absolutely fine.
Again.
If not, you might want to share it.
I'm trying. It's not coming up as an option in a moment. Summer, you're still there. Do you want to see if you can open it for me?
Yes, I'm just going to the share drive. Give me a moment.
Okay, thank you. It's not coming up on my Teams as an option for some reason.
Any luck?
Just bear with me a moment, please.
That's fine, Summer.
I'm having the same issue with you, Matt. It's not coming up as an option to share.
Simon's saying that he may be able to try. Should we have 10 minutes break, members, while we try and sort this out? Are members happy for that? And then they're not under stress? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think we'll have 10 minutes break, members, officers. So can we, Peter, can we reconvene, please, at 4:40, please, and have 10 minutes comfort break? Thank you.
That's working, Simon.
Okay, lovely. I'll just see if it moves as well.
Sorry, Simon, Summer. I believe Chair has requested for a 10 minutes.
Yes, I was just getting it ready.
Is that okay? I take it we're offline, is that correct?
That's not correct, Chair. The meeting still continues to be streamed.
All right. Could we have 10 minutes break, Peter, please?
Yes, once I can get the control of the screen, I'll put the break up.
Yes, please. Just till 4:40, please.
Peter, you still there? Simon?
I am.
Okay. It seemed to be working for me, not ideally, but I did just get onto the second slide then before you put up the screen there.
May I just remind you, you're being it's still on live stream, so all audio is heard.
Okay, thank you.
Just talk on the chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Right, Peter. Is everybody back? Lovely. Okay. Just check to make sure councillors are here before we go live. Councillor Donna Jones.
I'm here, Councillor Fuller.
Thank you. Councillor Donna Jones. Councillor Luke Stubbs.
I'm here, Councillor.
Thank you very much.
I'm here, Councillor Fuller.
Thank you very much. It's a bit like being at school here, isn't it? Come on. Time's up. Anybody else are we missing? Councillor Lee Hunt. Surely he's here. Councillor Terry Norton.
Yes, I'm here, Chair. Yep.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Atkins. Councillor Atwell.
Here, Chair.
Councillor Atkins. Councillor Luke Stubbs.
Yes, present, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Matt's just
Councillor
messaged me to say he's got IT issues and he's having to rejoin the meeting.
Right, I'll give him a couple of minutes because I don't start without him because he won't be able to vote on anything, so I'll have to wait. Matt was the last one, wasn't he, Councillor Jones?
Say that again, sorry. We've got four, and Luke, Terry, and I are all I think in attendance from what I've just heard, and Matt is rejoining, so that's us,
Right.
Conservative lot.
That's you all. Oh, Councillor Hunt, I think is around, is he? Councillor Hunt. Could someone get hold of Councillor Hunt or give him a phone call?
I'm definitely here.
He's here. Well done, Councillor Hunt.
Councillor Stagg's left, Chair, hasn't she? Is that right?
No, I think she's still with us until
Where are you,
just
Councillor
after 5.
Fuller?
Did I hear my name mentioned?
No, you're fine, Councillor Stagg. I heard you earlier on.
Good, thank
Someone
you.
trying to call
I have to
mischief
phone
with-
out the dogs are performing.
Sorry, Lynn, that was me. Sorry, that was me. I weren't sure.
That's right.
Councillor Atwell, I think. Matthew,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I just made it. Councillor Stagg's got to go. This application is going to take longer than 15 minutes. I mean,
Well, that's up to her, Councillor, isn't it? It's up to her to make the decision. I've been as quick as I can. Not for us. Sorry.
You're right.
I'm here now, Chair, just so you know, Councillor Matthew Atkins.
Thank you.
You are right.
All right, Lynn. What do you want to do, Lynn? Do you want to
I
stay or
might
go?
go now because I don't think I'll see the end of it.
That's okay, and then I'll just say that when we go live. Okay.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Okay, all councillors here. Peter, tell us when we're live, please.
Just to confirm, Chair, you were live all throughout. We haven't stopped the broadcast during the adjournment.
Oh, right. Okay. That's fine then. Thank you very much. So Councillor Lynn Stagg has left us because of a prior engagement. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the members of the public. Sorry about that little blip, but I'm sure we've sorted out. So I'm now going to hand over to the planning officer who will present the next application, number 36, Paynes Road, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just hopefully this works now and I can share my screen. Can everyone see the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Lovely. So this application is being brought to Planning Committee due to a series of objections submitted by the residents of the East St Thomas's Residents Forum. Planning permission is sought for the change of use from a Class C4, C3 house multiple occupation into a 7-bedroom, 7-person, sui generis, larger house in multiple occupation. The application relates to a two-storey mid-terrace property that's located on the southern side of Paynes Road, which features a front box dormer and is set back from the roadway by a small front forecourt. So just so you get an idea of its location along Paynes Road. Above here you can see the HMO data held by the council and confirmed by the officer. The area already features a high proliferation of HMOs, with the percentage of HMOs in the immediate 50-metre radius being 55%. This includes the application site, which is already considered to be a HMO. In light of the fact there's already an existing and significant imbalance between HMOs and C3 properties in the area, and that there will be no change in the percentage of HMOs within the area, HMO SPD instructs us to make a judgment on the potential harm to the amenity resulting from the proposed additional bedroom and occupancy of the property. This is laid out in more detail within the committee report, but to summarise, having regards to the layout of the surrounding HMOs, where there is no identifiable pattern and they all seem to have an even spread throughout the area, and mindful of the fact that the property is already being used as a 6-person HMO, it's not considered that the proposal would be likely to result in a demonstrably higher level of harm to the existing general levels of residential amenity. Here you can see the proposed floor plans for the property. So while the combined living space located at the ground floor towards the end is under the required standard of 34 square metres by 6.9 metres, the property benefits from not only some larger than required standard bedrooms, so all the bedrooms meet the 6.51 minimum size standard, but then 5 of the bedrooms also meet the higher 10 metre square standard. 2 of the bedrooms though are below the 10 metres at 8.4 and 8.8 metres in size. In addition to all these additional oversized bedrooms, the property also benefits from 2 rooms located at basement level, identified on the plans as entertainment rooms, which serve as communal areas. Now, while these rooms receive a reduced level of light and outlook, given their location below ground, they do have 2 small windows. But given that they amount to about 23 metres squared of additional communal area that can be for the benefit of the occupants, it is considered that this additional size is sufficient to mitigate the under-provision of the primary communal space at ground floor level. As such, it is therefore considered that the proposal is in accordance with the requirements outlined within the HMO SPD, and therefore is considered to provide an adequate standard of living accommodation to facilitate 7 individuals sharing. Here you can see some photos of the communal area up top. So this is the ground floor communal space, and of the basement entertainment room. So the first image is at the rear of the property, looking towards the front, and the second photo is looking towards the rear window. Here you can see some photos of the bedrooms from inside, so all benefit from a good level of light and outlook, and are all considered to have a suitable layout and size. Here you can see some other bedrooms within the property, as well as 2 of the shower rooms. The property features 1 shower room which includes a WC, and 1 separate WC. All of them are above the size standards for sanitary facilities in a 7-person HMO, and they have the correct number of toilets and showers in the property. There's no parking associated with the property, and no proposal to provide any on-street parking. However, the parking SPD sets out the requirements for a sui generis HMO is the same as a C4 HMO, and as such a refusal on a lack of parking couldn't be sustained. The council's adopted parking standards, sets out a requirement for sui generis HMOs to provide storage for at least 4 bicycles. This property has a rear garden where secure bicycle storage could be located, and this requirement can be secured with a condition. In relation to the refuse requirements, the owner of the site would need to apply for communal waste collection, but it is considered that waste facilities could be stored at the rear of the garden and could be secured by condition. So, having regard to the above matters, the proposed change of use is considered to be acceptable and appropriate for this location. That's the end of the officer presentation. I have one deputation. I'll read out from the East St Thomas's Residents Forum.
Yes, please.
Firstly, I would like to thank the Chair and the Councillors for the opportunity to convey the consensus views of the now over 300 members of the East St Thomas Residents Forum. As I'm sure you are aware, we always provide deputations at these meetings on HMO development in an attempt to stop the relentless increase in our neighbourhood and impact on our community. The brutal reality is that the financial rewards for developers from creating student bedrooms in our area is so great, they will, as in this case, push development beyond what is practically possible in order to maximise profits. It is only local government that can help us, both through close scrutiny of planning applications and setting out a sustainable framework for balancing housing policy in the local plan. In this deputation, we will argue that this particular proposal represents a significant overdevelopment of the property. In practical terms, the development therefore fails to provide a good standard of living for the occupants and will significantly impact the amenity of the local residents, and we would urge you to refuse planning permission on this basis. Point 1. Sandwiching. Both neighbouring properties, numbers 34 and 38, are C3 family dwellings and are both already sandwiched by student HMO developments. Portsmouth Planning Guidance document PD SPD 2019 fully recognises the effect that sandwiching has on the amenity of impacted residents through increased noise, antisocial behaviour, poor waste management, and late night coming and goings caused by HMO properties with a large number of independent residents. Having established that these sandwiching residents are impacted by surrounding HMO bedrooms, it would seem crazy for PCC to approve an application to convert 36 Paynes Road into a super HMO, where high intensity of use would further exacerbate these issues. Communal space. The proposed property layout fails to meet the requirements of the communal living space, offering only 27.1 metres squared against the requirement of 34 metres squared set out within PCC's standards for houses in multiple occupation. We completely reject the officer's argument that the basement space contributes to mitigate this shortfall and consider that the comment in the officer's report indicating that the basement has reduced levels of light and outlook completely understates the issue. We have attached photographs of the window to the front of the property, which demonstrates how small this is, covered by steel bars, and would argue that the basement represents a poor standard of accommodation and should therefore not be considered. We also have concerns that the basement rooms will be converted to additional bedrooms at some point once sui generis planning permission is granted. Ironically, as detailed in the drawings accompanying the applicant's previous planning permission proposal of January 2019, the property had a lounge, dining room and kitchen, all at ground floor level, offering a total of 34.25 metres squared of communal space. We would therefore argue that this new proposal is a retrograde step as it offers a lower standard of accommodation for residents when compared with the property in its original configuration. Waste management. The officer's report notes that 316-litre refuse and recycling bins will be required for the proposed large number of residents of the property, and that these will need to be retained in the rear garden, with this requirement secured by condition. The reason for this is that the property has essentially no front forecourt on which to store such a large number of these very large bins. Anyone familiar with the size of these jumbo wheelie bins will immediately know that there is no way that they can be practically pulled through the property on a weekly basis for rubbish and recycling collection. Therefore, in our view, to suggest this as a solution clearly demonstrates the level of overdevelopment being proposed, with the property ultimately just not able to practically accommodate so many occupants. Should this application be approved on the basis of a promise in the officer's report that bins must be stored in the rear of the property, secured by planning condition, we will test the council's enforcement response when the bins of 36 Paynes Road are inevitably left in the street, blocking the pavement and ruining neighbourhood amenity. In closing, on the basis of the above, we believe that the application fails to protect the amenity and the provisions of a good standard of living environment for neighbouring and local occupiers, as set out within SPD 20, and we would urge you to support the East St Thomas reticence and refuse the application on these grounds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Thank you very much. So we're now going to move to questions to the officer. And the first person we've got is Councillor Matthew Atkins, please. Councillor Atkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the report, Matthew. Can you confirm which bedroom is the new bedroom, and are the Southsea Community Forum correct that the HMO has gone from directly satisfying our communal space standards to now only, if you like, indirectly satisfying them? So have they removed otherwise communal downstairs space that has dropped them from above 34 metres to below the space standard?
Matthew?
Yes, so I believe it is bedroom 2 that is being converted from a communal space into an additional bedroom. To go towards East St Thomas's comments around the 2019 application, I've looked through the previous floor plans for it, and while they are correct, I would highlight that did that relied on the basement being used as 2 bedrooms. Yes, it was in the previous application total.
Thank you.
Did you want to come back on that, Councillor Atkins, or were you happy for that?
I think that answers the question. So the basements have been offered in exchange for a loss of what was more normal communal space.
Matthew, could you just confirm that again?
Yes. So, well, they've converted some of the internal property under permitted development, as they do have some rights to, and changed the layout. But yes, from the previous application in 2019, the basement previously served 2 bedrooms, and now would be used to serve additional communal area.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Councillor Judith Smythe, please. You have a question to the officer.
Thank you, Chair. We've seen a number of these, and I've certainly got every sympathy with the residents of East Southsea, and I do understand the case they're making. However, there is a planning history around these sorts of applications, and in this particular case, there is sizes of rooms and so forth are broadly above what's required. I want to ask a question about the history of recent history when an applicant has gone to appeal, when we've turned down this kind of application. What's the current view of if we should refuse this? What do you anticipate the view of an inspector would be?
It's somewhat hard to say for definite on how an inspector will fall on any application. For this specific example of a basement being used as additional communal space, there's not one that I can find that's easily comparable. If you were to look at the total floor space within the property, it's 139 meters squared, I believe, off the top of my head. In recent appeal decisions that we've had, they've gone either way on properties, but the most that they've dismissed recently on room sizes has been 120 meters as their overall size. But obviously, some of that floor space is being contained within the basement, which has lower levels of light outlook, so it's under capturing.
I think
another follow-up.
Yes, of course.
Is the ceiling height in the basement adequate?
Yes, well, I did measure it myself, and I haven't submitted sections, but I was able to stand up there, so it's at least 2 meters or so in height.
I'm going to thank you for that. You can come back, Councillor. I've got Councillor Claire Udy, who was showing her hand, and I think she was the next one, and then I'll come back to Matthew Atkins and then Councillor Judith Smythe. Councillor Udy, please.
Thank you. I'm trying to zoom in on the PowerPoint. Are there toilets in the shower rooms? Sorry.
So there is one WC contained in one of the shower rooms, which is at the second floor, so within the roof space, the shower room within the roof. There is one WC on the first floor, and then there is just a shower on the ground floor.
Okay, Councillor Matthew Atkins, you were next, please.
Do we have any sort of pictures of the furnishing or the habitability of the basement? Or can you comment on it if you went and had a look at it?
Yeah, so there were some pictures in the PowerPoint. I can put those up for you if you wish.
Yes, please. If you put those back up, that would be helpful.
That's fine. Bear me a second.
Oh, okay, so those bottom pictures are the basement.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
And just could I follow up very quickly on Councillor Udi's point? Can we consider it? Is it a relevant planning consideration if we think that there is inadequate WC provision in the building? Would that be sustainable, or is that not something we can suggest? Does it meet the standards for the number of WCs required for 7 people? Because that does seem a bit slim. I kind of agree that either having to go to the first floor or the second floor for the ground floor bedrooms is rather a problem, but I'm not sure whether or not that's actually relevant in this planning application.
I'll just quickly pull up the HMO SBD of what our last guidance is. So for a HMO that's been shared between 6 to 10 people, it requires 2 separate bathrooms and 2 separate WCs with a hand basin, but one of the WCs can be contained within the bathroom. So in this instance, you have 2 separate showers and 2 separate WCs. One of the WCs is contained within the shower room, so it would meet the guideline standard for 6 to 10 people set out within the SBD.
Thank you.
Councillor Judith Smythe, please.
Councillor Atkins has helpfully asked the question I was going to ask about the WCs. I wanted to ask about the ceiling height downstairs and whether that would pass through building regulations all right. And I understand, Matthew Garrett, that you could walk about quite easily, and you're not particularly short, if I recall. But is it a sort of adequate height, and would environmental health say so?
I can't say for definite if it meets environmental health standards. I'm not sure what environmental health standards for head height would be precisely. I can, but as far as what I've walked around there easily enough. I don't have any definite heights of what the size of the basement in terms of its height, but yeah.
May I ask, for, as you haven't got a measurement, how tall you are, Matthew, please?
I'm 6. That's fine. I'm 6'4".
Thank you.
Councillors, if I might come in here, I think if we can look at the bar stools, I would assume those bar stools are just shy of 900. If we were to double them, I think it will still be shy of the floor to ceiling. So one could comfortably say that it's about 2.2 meters.
Thank you, Eze.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Claire Rudy, and then I'm going to go to Councillor Lee Hunt. Claire Rudy kept putting her hand up. Councillor Rudy.
No, sorry, mine's still up.
You're still up. You've finished. Okay, Councillor Lee Hunt, a question to the officers then, please. Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, so Matthew, when you went there, I presume this has already all been done?
Yeah, so they've already converted the rooms. They just haven't occupied the additional bedroom. So they carried out the internal works to change the layout, but they just haven't occupied it as a 7-person HMO.
What did you see when you looked in this new bedroom?
At the time, I believe it was just an empty room with carpeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions from members to the officer, please, before we move on to comments? No, I'm going to move on to comments then, and the first person was Councillor Terry Norton for a comment, please.
Thank you, Chair. No, I think the East St Thomas Residents Forum are right in what they're saying with this one, really. We see these HMOs come in time and time again. We've got minimum standards in terms of the amount that are allowed, and yet we they seem to sneak through and we have them there. This isn't an extra HMO, but it is an additional occupant. And whilst we can't do anything about the potential parking and all of those sort of issues, I think there are some size issues here in terms of the size of the communal spaces, and there's some impact on noise and amenities. SPD 20 does recognise the impact on surrounding dwellings, and they are very much sandwiched in there. So on that, I think I would propose refusal of officers' recommendations based on size standards, increase of noise concerns there, and an impact on amenity in that order, please.
Thank you, Councillor. That was very clear from you. And you want to refuse it. Thank you very much. So that's a proposal at the moment. My next person on my list was Councillor Chris Atwell. Councillor Chris Atwell, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Norton rather stole my thunder. I'd like to second Councillor Norton's proposal.
Thank you very much. So that's seconded by Councillor Atwell for refusal at the moment. Councillor Lee Hunt, please.
Okay, so I've got 4 words to say. We're in agreement, of course. This is just a room too far, isn't it? In this particular property, the East St Thomas Residents Association is quite correct, in my view, that it is an overdevelopment. Whether or not somebody's want to maximise their profit, that's not something that we can really consider. But the form of words that I jotted down was that having regard to the report and representations made by residents, this is just helping out Councillor Norton, because officers will ask, having regard to the representation made and the report, that the proposed change of use, the addition of 1 bedroom, is unacceptable, as the addition of another bedroom will adversely impact the community balance and the residential amenities in the vicinity, and the nitrates levels on the solar, and I do think on highway parking grounds too, so that's my view anyway, and compared to the current situation, contrary to the various policies mentioned in the report, the swapping out the community, I mean, let's face it, you go downstairs, that's a kind of bar area, and any young person can enjoy going down there in the evening, but I think at night time swapping out natural light for the bedroom for the front room for a bedroom and losing the natural light is unnatural. So I think it's going to have an adverse impact on the current amenities enjoyed by the residents already there. So that's another part to add in. And I hope I've been helpful to Councillor Norton and to Councillor Atwell and to the and for the officers, because it looks like this one's going to be turned down.
Thank you. So you'll looks as though you're going to refuse that, Councillor. Anybody else for any comments, please? No. Okay. So Kieran, I understand I've got to vote. So I've got to ask people first of all to vote for grant permission first of all, and then if that gets turned down, then I then vote for the refusal. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct, Chair. You haven't had a motion suggesting the officer's recommendation. So...
Yes, you're correct. Yes. So does anybody want to propose the officer's recommendation then to grant planning?
I just want to check with the legal officer. Yes. The form of use the form of words I used, Kieran, is that going to be helpful for this case?
What I would propose to do, Councillor, is yes, it is useful. I would ask that Eze gives a summary of the draft reason for refusal so that we're all absolutely clear about that.
Very good.
I'm going to go back to that, Councillor Hunt. I'm just going to make sure that people there are heard. So nobody is going to propose or second it by the looks of it, to grant permission. Is that correct? I've got Judy Smythe. Councillor Judy Smythe.
Thank you. This is a combination of a question and a comment. If they'd called this the entertainment rooms communal spaces, would that have made a significant difference? I mean, I am concerned about appeals on this, and I do understand fully the objections made, but it is when all is said and done, it's one person additional. It's not changing the use of the whole building. It's not introducing another HMO into the area. And I believe we've been down this round this loop and hated the fact that we have given permission for these. But I am very concerned about an appeal situation, given the fact that there is quite a large area downstairs. Would it have, I mean, to start with, would it have made a difference if it had been called communal space? And second of all, I mean, I suppose I'm back to my personal concern that we will have an appeal, and it won't really make any difference if we do turn it down. So I think I would like to move that we approve it.
Okay, so you are in agreement with the officers, Councillor Judith Smythe. Is that correct? So you're proposing that we grant permission.
I am with a heavy heart. Yes.
Yes, with a heavy heart. Did the officer want to get back to Councillor Smythe about the issues that you brought up, or quickly before we go over to Councillor Lee Hunt?
Yeah, happy to.
Yes, please.
The title of the room probably wouldn't have made much difference in terms of the recommendation. It's the SPD really only sets out the combined living space, and it says technically that if they're not an open plan area, then they shouldn't be considered within the 27 square meters. Other than that, it's just kind of additional communal space. It doesn't particularly matter what it's titled as, whether it's a dining room or living room or anything. It's still kind of communal space in nature.
Sorry, I didn't understand that answer. So you mean, because if we turned it down and they, for example, made bedroom 6 into more communal space, it would still be a separate space from the other room. Would that not count either then? Or I'm afraid I don't understand.
Oh, so what was the... Sorry? I misunderstood the question.
If we turn this down and we assume therefore that one of the communal areas would have to be bedroom 6 on the ground floor, or possibly bedroom 7 on the ground floor, bedroom 6 would be the most logical because of noise and so forth, that still wouldn't count towards the 27 square meters, would it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that still wouldn't technically count because they're not one combined living area, one open with a feeling of open planness.
Because they've got 21 square meters downstairs, so I thought that if you had a multiplicity of communal areas, then it would, it would all count as communal areas. Can we just have a look at the kitchen again, please? Kitchen diner.
I'm not changing my mind. I'm sorry.
And could you confirm that if there are 2 separate communal areas, I thought we'd count them both, add them together?
Well, it depends whether it's the difference between combined living space, which is something we've got a definition and a term for, which is when you have the kitchen, dining room and living room, there's one sole communal area. Within the SPD, there's nothing that particularly gives definite guidance of what you do when there's one combined living space and an additional communal area. So you kind of just add it into the balance of whether you think that the property provides an adequate standard of accommodation.
So, I wondered if anybody else has got experience of what's happened before on this, because it seems to me that if there was a separate living room downstairs, that would have to count into the. Is there there are different definitions for kitchen and ground floor and other separate communal living space, and we haven't got the figures on under 5.13 here to know how to judge it quite.
Matthew?
One second, I'm just trying to...
Going to ask Matthew to answer that, and then I'll be asking Councillor Hunt and then Councillor Claire Rudy. Matthew, would you like to answer that, please?
Okay. Have a go. So within the HMO SPD, you've got definitions for dining room, living room, kitchen and combined living space. It's normally expected that if you have a combined living space, then you won't have a dining room, living room, or a kitchen as an additional room. Though you obviously can do if you just have two of the rooms combined in an additional room at the side. They all would count as communal area, but can be considered as a combined living space. It's defined as a typically open plan space, usually containing the 3 rooms in one. So it's a bit of a tricky question to answer, as there's no definite answer of what you do in these scenarios.
If you were to, I haven't got the SPD here in front of me, the whole full thing, but under 513, if you counted it as a kitchen diner, what's the minimum standard for a kitchen, and what's the minimum standard for a separate living room?
That would be 14 for a dining room and 11 for a kitchen, and then 14 for the living room.
So if they were to have defined it as a kitchen, for example, and a living room, they exceed the requirements.
They would exceed the individual requirements, but you'd still have to consider the fact that the living room wouldn't have a great standard of light and outlook. But
okay,
you see that. I will stop in a moment, but that, in my mind, strengthens
okay.
the fact that an inspector would allow this to go ahead when it all's said and done. And I fully understand the difficulties of living next door and all of that stuff. I don't believe that this will stand up if they go to appeal.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lee Hunt, and then Councillor Claire Moody was next. So Councillor Lee Hunt.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So we have always had it drummed in us. We have to treat each application on its own individual merits, and whether or not this goes off to appeal and is successful or not should not really be impacting the decision of members today. On this occasion, I simply can't agree with Councillor Smythe's proposition to grant this overdevelopment in an already crowded area that suffers from 55% of houses already in HMO occupation. This is an over-intensification of this property, as described by the East South Sea Neighbourhood Residents Association. And you have to give it, I mean, I give weight to it. Perhaps it is a close-ish call, who knows? But, you know, I think that you have to look at the addition. The one room overbalances the whole house, doesn't it? The addition of one more bedroom overbalances, whether or not there's another bedroom put in downstairs has been argued by representations today, or not, I don't know. But today, the addition of the extra room simply overbalances the residential amenities in the house already, and has an adverse impact on the unacceptable impact on the area around it. So for the reasons I described earlier on, we ought really to stand up for the people in that area and reject this application on what I consider to be reasonable planning grounds. And so long as we're reasonable about what we're doing, if it goes off to appeal, the inspector, even if he did not agree with us, as long as we're being reasonable, it's the right thing to do on behalf of the people we all seek to represent.
Thank you very much.
It's a fine line, I agree.
Yeah, Councillor Claire Moody, please. You've been very patient. Councillor Claire Moody.
Thank you. I want to draw your attention. It must have been a couple of years ago. We had a planning application in Fawcett Road, and it was to go to a sui generis, and they had basement living space, and I can't remember if it was just the basement they wanted as living space, but we refused it because of that tiny window in the front of the house. I would argue that even if they tried to add the entertainment rooms onto the combined living space, I don't think maybe even though there's quite a few windows, I don't think that's an adequate amount of light because it is a basement room. And I think you could probably maybe refuse on that reason as well if you're trying to maybe, I don't want to say bulk out because it doesn't sound like the right thing to say, but if you're trying, because I particularly don't agree either. Also, I just wanted to make a point to Councillor Smythe, if you're planning on accepting this, could we put that permission in? Could you consider putting the permission in with bin storage being at the back of the house? Because if you look on the PowerPoint presentation, they show you a picture of the house and the bin for the house obviously wasn't emptied because the students at the time couldn't put the right recycling in there, and you can see that it's too small, and I think that might be even a normal size bin and not even a big size bin as well, so you can imagine that you cannot fit any waste provision. You see that, you can see the basement window there as well, can't you? And that would be overshadowed by bins honestly. But I do school run. When I do school runs, it's been down a Wednesday where I live, and it's just horrific with big bins being on the pavement as well. So if we can try and have out the back storage, because if they won't fit it outside, they'll just try and have it on the road all the time, and no one really cares. And I know there's enforcement in the area, but I still walk past bins every single day that are outside houses in HMO land. Okay, sorry to go on.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rudy. So, members, we've got a proposal on the minute on the table to grant planning, grant permission, but we haven't got a seconder at the moment. So that one's going to fall if we haven't got a seconder, I understand, for granting that planning permission. Is that correct, Kieran?
That's correct, Chair, yes.
That's correct. So with that in mind then, I'm going to, before we go to the vote for refusal, I need it very clear for the proposer, which was Councillor Terry Norton, for your reasons for refusal, please. So Councillor Terry Norton, could you give us, again, clear guidance on the way why you feel it should be refused?
I certainly can.
Is they able to give that advice first? Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, that's why I'm asking him, Kieran. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, Meze rather than.
Yeah, Councillor Terry Norton, please.
Sorry, Councillor. Did you want me to give what I summed up from members' comments? Yes.
Yes.
So this is just a rough draft. So I've got 4 reasons for refusal. It says the members resolve to overturn officer's recommendation and to resolve to refuse the application as brought forward on its effect on the living conditions of nearby residents by reason of intensification, having particular regards to noise and disturbance. That's the first reason for refusal. The second one is its effect on the living conditions of future and existing residents by reason of intensification, having particular regards to the lack of suitable internal amenity space. And the third one is effect of the proposal by the additional room on parking likely to result in highway safety issues. And the fourth one is the effect of the proposal on the SPA for lack of satisfactory mitigation. Am I correct there?
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. Chris, are you happy with that as a seconder? Maybe take the parking one out because I think it's probably non-material. But
Okay, Councillor, I'll remove that one. Yep. So I've got 3 reasons for refusal.
Okay, Kieran, are we okay now to Councillor? Sorry, Chris Atwell, are you happy with that? What you've just heard?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lee Hunt. Did you want to jump in
very
quickly?
briefly, whilst we'll vote for it, even the proposition, even with the parking one taken out, I don't think residents in that area would agree that the parking is additional car along there is not a material consideration. So I'll vote because I think the additional room is as been described easy. It's all the reasons we've all talked about. I shut up now.
Councillor Claire Rudy, quickly.
Sorry, I did the hand thing again. Sorry.
Accidentally. So, Kieran, do we need to go over that again before the vote?
Just confirm with Councillor Norton that the highway safety reason has been removed and that his seconder also approves that.
Thank you, Kieran. Councillor Norton?
Yeah, can it be noted? I mean, it is a valid point. I just think that we can't. I don't want it to be refused based on non-material grounds, but the point does stand that the 3 material grounds are fine by me.
Yes, and I'm pleased to note that you're making that distinction. That's important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Norton. So we're going to go to the vote then for refusal. That's correct on those grounds there. Okay. So this is what we're voting on now, members. So I now call upon each member to vote for, against, or obviously refuse, or abstain. So I call upon Councillor Judith Smythe. Please indicate if you're against the motion or do you wish to abstain. Sorry, could we hear you? Your microphone was off, Councillor. We need to hear you. Sorry.
I will abstain, Chair.
Abstain. Thank you very much. We just need to hear everybody because I got told off before. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please. We'd indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion, Chair.
For. Okay. Councillor Matthew Atkins, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
That was me, Chair. You want to Chris that one?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry. I've read the wrong one. It's getting
Well,
late.
it's
I call upon
election, you know.
Yeah, sorry, I call upon Councillor Atwell. Please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion, Chair.
For. Okay. Councillor Lee Hunt, please. If you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
On this glorious day, I'm for the motion.
Thank you very much. Councillor Donna Jones, for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For the motion, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. Councillor Terry Norton, please indicate if you're for or against, or do you wish to abstain?
Yeah, I'm for, Chair.
For. Councillor Lynn Stavy's not here. Councillor Luke Stubbs, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
For.
Thank you very much. Councillor Claire Oudie, please indicate if you're for or against the motion, or do you wish to abstain?
I'm for the motion.
Thank you. And myself, I'm for the motion as well. So, Democratic Services, could you, Jane, tell us the scores, please?
Yes, of course, Chair. You had 8 votes for the motion and 1 abstention.
Okay, so that's been carried. So for refusal. So thank you very much, members. Thank you. So we now.
Mr. Can I just thank the officers for their assistance in that particular matter?
Yes, thank you very much. Duly noted as well, Councillor Hunt. Thank you. And it's very clear. I wanted it very clear for members, and that's why I keep asking Kieran, bless him. So thank you for that. So now we're going to go on to the next application, which is Forest Lodge. I'm going to hand over now to Councillor Judith Smythe, who will be taking over. Obviously, the reason why is because I've got a personal and prejudicial interest in that application. So I'm going to say goodbye to members. I'm also going to say goodbye to officers, and thank you all again for this afternoon. Over to you, Councillor Judith Smythe. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We're now on item 7 and the last item in this agenda. This is about Forest Lodge, Loxway Road. And you will recall, members, as described in paragraph 1.1, that we approved the development and delegated to officers the resolution of a number of conditions. And this report has come to us because Councillor Sanders wanted us to have a look at those conditions, but I understand they have already been issued to the applicant. So I just commend this report to you. If anybody wants to comment or say anything, then I don't think we should take too long over it because it is a matter for note. Unless, could I have a further introduction from planning officers? Is that correct?
Yes, Councillor, this is Simon Turner. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Smythe. That's right, you've summed it up perfectly. It's purely for information at the request of Councillor Sanders. So as the report set out, we have progressed in accordance with members' wishes on the day in July to move the application to decision, working on the conditions that were drafted, of course, with the overturn and completing the legal agreement. And we did indeed issue the decision as requested about 3 days after this report was published. Thank you.
Has anybody got any further comments they'd like to make? Councillor Hunt.
I have requested to speak.
Yeah, me too.
Councillor Jones, go first. I can see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't mind. Sorry, Councillor Hunt had started speaking, but I'd already taken myself up. You know, there's a few second delay when you take yourself off mute.
Yes.
Please, I'm happy to go after Councillor Hunt. There's no real issue.
Councillor Hunt, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you very much. I just want to know, and for completeness and for the record, for anybody watching, what conditions have been achieved?
Thank you, Councillor. If you have the agenda, I'll take you through them verbally anyway for the purposes of everyone listening and for the record. On the following pages on the report, so there's the first page, which just gives the brief three paragraphs of update. But then for the record, Councillor, on the next few pages, the reports are the conditions are set out there. So I'll take you through briefly. Number 1, the standard time limit. Number 2, the approved plans. Number 3, construction management plan. Number 4, flood risk and drainage. Number 5, biodiversity enhancement. 6, 7 and 8 are all to do with contaminated land, remediation, verification. Number 9 is materials. Number 10, water efficiency. Number 11, sustainability measures. Number 12, nitrates mitigation. Number 13, trees and landscaping. Number 14, a management scheme, again to do with the special protection areas. Number 15, car and cycle parking. And number 16, refuse storage.
Thank you.
Thank you. While we're on that, can I just ask whether the sustainability measures, I'm asking a question from the chair, would include things like solar panels and that sort of thing? Paragraph 11, the condition 11.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. We normally keep that option firmly open, even if the applicant has application stage has indicated certain measures that they may wish to implement. They can typically change as the scheme is progressed further through technical analysis and compliance with the building regulations and so on. So it could include anything, and we will see that scheme in due course and have some further input into it.
Councillor Jones, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. A question, if I can, please, to Simon, and then a comment, if that's okay. So, Simon, the first question is, this is a report to us updating us. So have these conditions already been, have the applicants already been advised of these conditions, or is this a draft you're bringing to us for comments ahead? I think it's probably the first, isn't it?
That's right, yes. The delegated authority was to issue a planning decision, and Councillor Sanders' request was purely to bring the application back for information only, for completeness. So the decision notice with the conditions slightly amended from the version in front of you has been issued.
Right. Okay. A comment just quickly, if I can, Judith, which is kind of relevant to it, because I think it probably will follow on as a type of question really to Simon as well. First of all, I think it's really useful to see the report back here, so I'm grateful that Councillor Sanders requested it to come back to us. Obviously, it's very detailed. I can understand why officers wanted to sort of work on that outside of committee. It makes a lot of sense. I think it looks comprehensive and fair. There's just a couple of points under the management scheme of section 14 I just wanted to raise. When the PNBT did a presentation to, well, I don't know if it was to group leaders and adult social care cabinet members and spokesmen, or if it's to all councillors, but anyway, I was certainly invited along, and I went with Councillor Stubbs, who at the time was our group spokesman on adult social care. And when they were explaining to us sort of the money they needed to raise and also what they wanted to do with this care home, it's not necessarily just for old people, because in 14D it talks about elderly. I mean, actually, I think they probably are mostly elderly from the impression I got. However, I think because it's veterans, I'm sure that there was a case study or some information about a man who was in his 50s who they had helped and had long ongoing care requirements in a care home somewhere else in the country. I'm not sure if it was one that PMBT were involved in themselves or if it was done through the development company that they have this partnership with. So it's just whether or not, Simon, elderly is necessarily the right word, but then I guess if it's already been advised, then I just raise that one. The other one is allowing.
What you're saying is that it might have said under D, elderly and or unable.
Could be a bit anyway. I mean, it's just a comment for Simon, and he might already have an answer to that one. And the other thing as well is not allowing staff accommodation overnight. Well, all care homes I've been into, there is overnight accommodation for staff, and I think that seems slightly strange not to have it. Why would we not have that? Why would we not allow them to have that? I suppose that one genuinely is a question then, actually.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Yes, the issue of the age of the occupiers carried on actually after committee. As you can imagine, we had to draw up all the conditions from scratch. And the management scheme is with respect to, as it says, to disturbance on the harbour, the special protection area for birds. We didn't believe that the presence of non-elderly veterans had been fully set out in the documents to us. So it cropped up quite late on, actually, as we were finalising the conditions with the applicant. We agreed to disagree, if you like, on that, but because of the need to make sure the application was technically correct with respect to the statutory consultee, Natural England, who had requested that condition, we did debate it with Natural England, but time was running out and the applicant wanted their consent very promptly. So they agreed in the end to the wording in front of you, and they may or may not have to come back to it in due course with us. So that's one for the future probably, and we'll happily look at that with them down the line with a bit more time. Secondly, the staff accommodation overnight, I think that means staying overnight in terms of sleeping. And I think they're awake staff, so that is the second issue there.
Yeah, but in other care homes, you have the ability for both. So if you have staff that sleep in and or are on duty, I mean, I don't know why it would specifically be a condition for it not to be like that. It just seems a slightly pointless. You know, in PCC owned care homes, we don't have that as a condition, and we do have staff that sleep there.
Yes, forgive me, I'm not au fait with all the ins and outs of even how different care homes may operate. Ultimately, it's a bit like the first point about the age. They agreed the condition. There wasn't a difficulty with that one with the applicants. Although there was a discussion around the age issue and veterans, they were happy with the overnight staff accommodations. So we took it as that it suited them.
Right, well, anyway, they're done now, aren't they? But thank you. It's useful to see them, and it's good to have them at committee. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Good points. I've observed those too. Any other comments at all? Councillor Hunt.
Yeah, thank you. I've got RTS. I don't know whether you can see it, Madam Chairman, or not.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. I'm not breaking ranks here at all. When we had the original debate, we all know how that went. And my concern then, and if the officers look at the file, they should have there an email that I did was when I was in communication with the applicants. They absolutely assured me that they would be putting, to answer your question, Councillor Smythe, solar panels onto the roof. And in fact, they also talked about heat from the groundwater, from the ground, if my memory serves me correctly. So they were minded to do all those things. It's just that because of the way the debate went, that was not put in. And I think it would be better if it had have been, for assuredness. But I hope very much that they won't break that pledge. I should be watching closely, and I should be unhappy if they don't. But I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Any other comments, questions? I've got no more RTSs on my chat, so again, if I could thank all the officers very much for helping us with this item and for drafting these conditions, and also thank you all for staying to consider this item. I declare this meeting is over. Goodbye. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, councillors.